Okay, having reached the hour of 5:30, I am calling the June 24th, 2025 Modesto City Council meeting to order and ask the city clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Ricky?
Present.
Vice Mayor Bavaro?
Present.
Councilmember Williams?
Here.
Councilmember Wright?
Here.
Councilmember Escutia-Brayton?
Here.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Here.
Mayor Zwallen?
Here. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation from Mike Gunnarsson, City Ministry Network. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I do not see Mike here this evening, so we will move on to the next agenda item. Please be seated. Thank you. Does the city clerk have any announcements?
Yes, Mayor. Item 9 is being pulled from consent for a separate vote. And also, if anyone needs Spanish interpretation, you can come forward and we have headsets at the front.
Thank you. Do any of the council members have any conflicts of interest?
And Mayor, I can make the comment here, and this is related to the item that that our city clerk just read, related to item number 9 on the consent calendar today. This item is for the renewal of 8 commercial cannabis retail permits for dispensaries in the city. The item is getting pulled for separate votes, so we could vote separately on the resolution, specifically 3 of them. One of them, Councilmember Wright, has a property-related interest with the resolution for McHenry Comic Management, LLC. He owns property near that dispensary, and there are other 2 resolutions, one of them dealing with Fino's Collective and the other Paradise West. And Vice Mayor Bavaro is actually going to be recusing himself from that one due to a campaign contribution within the last 12 months, which was over the $500 limit, and that was from Mr. Roberts. The recusal is out of an abundance of caution because Mr. Roberts is the property owner.
All right, thank you. I will now report out on a closed session, and this is regarding one of the items, employee performance evaluation. Pursuant to City Charter, Section 725 of the City Charter, tonight in closed session, the City Council reviewed the performance of the City Manager as it relates to the core competencies of the City Manager position, his duties and responsibilities, his past achievements during this rating period, as well as his upcoming goals for this next year, and found City Manager Lopez to be a very hardworking individual that does a fine job in managing the organization, and that he consistently makes sound decisions and recommendations to council. Council values what he brings to the organization and commends him for his leadership, his high integrity, and his strong work ethic. We truly appreciate everything that he and his entire leadership team has accomplished this past year, and we look forward to working in partnership with him in the years to come. Thank you very much for your service. Next on the agenda is acknowledgements and presentations, and we have one presentation this evening, a proclamation declaring July as Disability Rights Month. I will read the proclamation. Proclaiming July 2025 as Disability Rights Month. Thank you. Disability Rights Month marks the anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, which was signed into law on July 26, 1990. This critical legislation prohibits discrimination against individuals with disabilities, removing barriers to public services, transportation, employment, and much more. The Americans with Disabilities Act was sponsored by Congressman Tony Coelho, who represented Modesto as California's 15th District Representative. The ADA, originating from the Central Valley, illustrates Modesto's commitment to create accessible spaces and advocate for those with disabilities. Disabilities can affect all people, regardless of race, age, gender, or social status. According to the CDC, approximately 70 million adults in the United States reported having a disability, underscoring how people with disabilities are a large part of every community and population. People with disabilities are productive members of society with potential. Communities thrive when residents appreciate each other's unique capabilities and support each other. By removing access barriers, we make our community a place where everyone participates and is a valued member. Now, therefore, I, Suze Wallen, hereby proclaim July 2025 as Disability Rights Month in the City of Modesto and urge every resident to become aware of the needs and capabilities of people in our community with disabilities, dated this 24th day of June, 2025. Accepting the proclamation will be Kathy Mendoza, Executive Director of the Society for Disabilities. And I'm not sure if we have anyone else here this evening, but we welcome you. And if you'd like to make a few remarks, we'd love to hear from you.
I would. Thank you so much, Mayor, and thank you, City Council, for recognizing the important work that we do in this community and beyond county lines even. We appreciate your support as we work hard to make sure that people with disabilities live the best life they can live, and we work to enhance their lives through all of our programs, our equipment, and our other means of support. If I could introduce my staff who's here.
Sure, thank you.
Operations Officer is Anna Cambara, and then next to her, trying to hide, is Chana King, who directs all our programs.
Okay.
We have Juan Arianes, who's a part-time thrift store manager, and then his mother, Diana, who is one of our all-star, all-the-time volunteers, and we appreciate her very much. So thank you all, and thank you to the community of Modesto for your support.
Thank you for your remarks and for being here this evening. And I appreciate everyone else that came to join you. You can stay there for a moment. Are there any comments from council members? Jeremiah Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Kathy, and your staff and volunteers for all that you do for the community, the fundraising that you do to make sure that everyone in our community is special. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Jeremiah.
All right, Councilmember Scudia Brayton.
I also wanted to thank you for your service and all you do for our community. It's not everyone steps up to do this, and you have, and your staff has, and it takes a heart, and it's heartfelt, and I'm grateful for you and your team. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I am very grateful for my team because they all have a heart for this kind of service, and I couldn't do this job without them.
Thank you. Excellent.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you all for being here this evening. I'll now bring the proclamation down and present it.
Thank you.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you. Hi, Nick. How are you? How's it going? Thanks for inviting us. We appreciate the acknowledgement. Thank you very much. Nice seeing you. Take care. Thank you.
All right. Next on the agenda is item 2, consider accepting the resignation of Diane Cruzy from the Citizens Transportation Sales Tax Commission. Does council have any questions of staff? Seeing none, I'll open this up to the public. Any comments from the public? On this item, seeing none, I will close public comments. Any comments from council members? Jeremiah Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank her for her service and wish her well.
All right, thank you very much. I have a resolution accepting the resignation of Diane Cruzy from the Citizens Transportation Sales Tax Commission. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Councilmember Wright.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Ricky. Will the clerk please call the roll for this item?
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Bavaro?
Aye.
Councilmember Williams?
Aye.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Scudia-Brayton?
Aye.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Aye.
Mayor Zwollen?
Aye. Carries unanimously. Next is item 3. Consider approving the appointment of Melinda Martin to fill one City of Modesto representative vacancy to the Stanislaus Animal Services Agency Advisory Committee for a 2-year term beginning July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2027. Does council have questions of staff? Seeing none, any comments from the public regarding item 3? Seeing none, I will close public comments. Any council comments?
Move to approve.
All right, I have a resolution approving the appointment of Melinda Martin as the City of Modesto representative to the Stanislaus Animal Service Agency Advisory Committee for a 2-year term beginning July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2027. I have a motion by Councilmember Ricky and a second by Councilmember Alvarez. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Bavaro?
Aye.
Councilmember Williams?
Aye.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Scudia-Brayton?
Aye.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Aye.
Mayor Zwollen?
Aye, carries unanimously. Item 4, consider approving the appointment of Thomas Orozco for the City of Modesto Public Member of the Audit Committee for a partial unexpired term ending June 30th, 2027. Does council have any questions of staff regarding this appointment? Seeing none, I will open it up to the public. I do not see any members of the public regarding this item. I will close public comments. Any comments from council members? I just would like to make a comment that this is a pretty intense position, and this is a person that stepped up to serve on this committee, and I look forward to serving with them on the audit committee. I have a resolution approving the appointment of Thomas Orozco for the City of Modesto Public Member of the Audit Committee for a partial unexpired term ending June 30th, 2027. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilmember Williams, second by Vice Mayor Bavaro. Will the clerk please call the roll for this item?
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Bavaro?
Aye.
Councilmember Williams?
Aye.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Scudia-Brayton?
Aye.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Aye.
Mayor Zwollen?
Aye, carries unanimously. Next on the agenda is public comment. As noted on the agenda, public comment will only be in person. Zoom will still be available for viewing and wordly translation. Am I going at a correct speed for you for our interpreter here this evening? Is that okay? Okay, thank you. Thank you all for being here tonight. The City of Modesto Council meetings are a place where everyone is encouraged to listen, share views, and participate in the decision-making process that benefits our community. Your engagement is valuable, and it helps our council and city staff collaborate on finding solutions that enhance the quality of life for the residents of Modesto. To be fair and equitable, every individual has the right to speak at this council meeting. However, it is imperative that we foster and maintain a respectful environment for the well-being and safety for everyone present at these proceedings. It is the mayor's responsibility to preserve strict order and decorum at all council meetings. Pursuant to the Charter of the City of Modesto, Article 6, the Mayor, Section 601, Powers and Duties of Mayor. The mayor shall have the authority to preserve order at all council meetings and to remove or cause the removal of any person from any meeting of the council for disorderly conduct, to enforce the rules of the council, and to determine the order of business under the rules of the council. Accordingly, the City Council meeting decorum rules are as follows. Please be respectful of all presenters, council members, staff, and members of the public. Please refrain from clapping other than following a presentation. All speakers are encouraged to state their name and city of residence. All questions must be directed to the mayor. Please do not block the view of others by holding signs up during council meetings. Time limits for public comments is 3 minutes, but may be limited at the discretion of the mayor to manage the business of the council. Speaking over others or interrupting while others have the floor is not permitted. Cell phones should be turned off or shall be set to vibrate during meetings. Thank you for your patience and participation as we work together to address the issues impacting our community, the community. Maintaining order and decorum during the City Council meeting is crucial in the effective governance of Modesto, and ensuring the Council's decisions are reflective of the community's priorities. Anyone disrupting the Council meeting may be asked to leave. Does anyone wish to speak on any item under public comment? This is for items not on the council agenda this evening, and you have 3 minutes to speak. Anyone wishing to address the City Council is asked to follow the rules of decorum. The rules of decorum are posted at the entrance of the chambers. I will read the names in the order that I received the blue cards. First is Rossi Arquello. Okay, welcome.
Buenas tardes, miembros del Consejo y de la Ciudad, de representantes comunitarios. Mi nombre es Rosy Argüello, madre de familia residente activa de la ciudad de Modesto, y hoy me presento ante ustedes con la preocupación, urgencia legítima del acceso sin control del tabaco por parte a nuestros jóvenes y la falta de regulación efectiva en la venta de cigarros electrónicos.
Members of the City Council, Community Representative. My name is Rosie Arguellano, a parent of the active resident of the City of Modesto. Today I come before you with an urgent and legitimate concern, the uncontrolled access to tobacco by our youth and the lack of effective regulations in the sale of these products.
Okay, well, I want to note that we do have the English interpretation in front of us. My question is, for anyone that's listening online, do they have that access, or would it be better for our interpreter to verbally repeat it so people that are listening in? Okay, so we should.
Since we have access.
Okay, so we should continue as we were with you stating it in Spanish and then you repeating it.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
when he gets down to 0, then you'll add an additional 3? Is that correct? Scotty, you're ready to go with that, right? Okay, great. Thank you very much. Go right ahead.
Ok, actualmente la ordenanza que se les va a presentar solo incluyen a 40 o 42 tiendas Smoke Shop que se estarán regularizando, mientras que existen otras 182 establecimientos operando sin regulación alguna. En estas tiendas, como licors, gasolineras, entre otros establecimientos, nuestros adolescentes están adquiriendo productos de tabaco de sabor de forma fácil. Muchas veces la venta es camuflajeada en bolsas de papitas, de sabritas o empaques de golosinas, en lugares donde son de convivencia pública, familiar, donde hay niños.
A smoke shop ordinance would only includes the regulation to 40 to 42 smoke shops, while there are another 182 tobacco retailers operating without any regulations. In these stores, like liquor stores, gas stations, and other establishments, adolescents are easily acquiring flavored tobacco products, often hidden in chip bags or candy packaging, in public places where families and children gather, not only at smoke shops.
Esta situación ha dado paso a una epidemia juvenil alarmante, explosiva y súper peligrosa para todos nuestros adolescentes, que ahora no solo son de jóvenes o adultos, también es de niños que en escuelas están fumando dentro de las aulas, donde están consumiendo los cigarros electrónicos, que no solo ponen en riesgo la salud física de nuestros hijos, sino también su salud emocional.
This is an alarming and explosive and dangerous youth epidemic that now affects children who are smoking inside classrooms with these flavored products, which not only endangers the physical health of our children, but also their emotional health.
Como voluntaria en campañas comunitarias, he visto de primera mano cómo estos productos aditivos están causando hospitalizaciones, ansiedad, dependencia, depresión y otras secuelas graves en los adolescentes.
As a volunteer in community campaigns, I have seen firsthand how these addictive products are causing hospitalizations, anxiety, dependence, depression, and other serious consequences in our adolescents.
Por eso exijo con carácter de urgencia que se incluya en la próxima regularización una ordenanza y ley específica que haga obligatoria la obtención de licencias para la venta de productos de tabaco en todo establecimiento que los comercialice sin excepción alguna.
And in the face of this reality, it is not enough to only require licenses from smoke shops. All stores that sell tobacco should be subject to mandatory licensing, strict supervision, and clear regulatory compliance. For this reason, I urgently demand that any passed by this council making it mandatory for every establishment that sells tobacco products to obtain a license without any exception.
Mi propuesta concreta es urgente que las 222 tiendas sean parte de la nueva ordenanza que se va a presentar. No solo poner las 40 o 42 smoke shop que tienen a la vista, ya que quedarán 182 tiendas fuera de la regularización y seguiremos repitiendo la misma situación con nuestros hijos, ya que ahí es donde nuestros hijos están comprando los tabacos de sabores con fácil acceso. No podemos tener a nuestros hijos con esa facilidad y accesibilidad a los cigarros electrónicos.
My proposal is urgent. All 222 stores must be included in any new ordinance that is passed. It should not only cover the 40 to 42 smoke shops, because that would leave 182 stores unregulated. I will say it again, 182 stores unregulated, and we would continue to face the same situation with our children. Since it is not only at smoke shops where our youth are easily accessing flavored tobacco, we cannot allow our children to have such easy access to electronic cigarettes. They're going to leave out of these stores. Why?
Una pregunta importante para ustedes es, ¿van a dejar fuera todas estas 182 tiendas que están irregulares para el fácil acceso a la venta de nuestros jóvenes?
Now my question is to you, are you going to leave out these 182 stores that are unregulated to have our children have access to them?
Si ustedes necesitan información de las personas que realmente están en nuestra comunidad, involúcrense en organizaciones que están al pendiente de qué es lo que pasa con estos jóvenes en la comunidad, que están de cerca con este problema epidémico. Están organizaciones como TAP Coalition, el equipo de Stanislaus y Prevention de Action Team, para saber información sobre qué está pasando con nuestros jóvenes.
So we cannot allow our children to have easy access to electronic cigarettes. These measures cannot wait. The urgency is now. Parents no longer know how to stop their children from using these products. Schools are witnessing the consequences. Our entire community is paying the price for the inaction of those who represent us.
Estas medidas no pueden esperar. La urgencia es ahora. Los padres ya no saben cómo detener el consumo de sus hijos. Las escuelas están viviendo las consecuencias y nuestra comunidad y nuestro entorno está pagando el precio de la inacción de los que representan esta comunidad.
So again, I am here representing my community, but I also know that you are aware this is an alarming problem. So what are we to do? It is time to act and do the right thing.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next is Juan Molineres.
Gracias por darme el tiempo.
Thank you for giving me
Un
the
saludo a
time.
cada uno de ustedes.
I want to say hello to each one of you.
Yo tengo un problema personal de hace 4 años
I have
en
a personal
cuanto
problem about 4
a mi
years
casa.
ago.
Un árbol de la ciudad
Well,
hizo
a
daños
tree
a mi
in
casa.
the city endangered my house.
You know what, I think, so that we can be sure and hear everything that he's saying, maybe you should say your sentence and then stop for her to interpret, because I'm
Okay.
having I'll have a hard
Dice que
time following.
haga pausa,
if it's
habla,
simultaneous.
Haga pausa
Yeah.
y luego puedo hacer la interpretación. ¿Sí entiende?
Tengo un problema de hace 4 años con un árbol que hizo daños a mi propiedad.
I have a problem.
He tratado de solucionarlo.
I have a problem that I've had about 4 years ago with a tree, city tree that's been in front of my house. I've been trying to resolve it, but
No he tenido ningún resultado. Este es el último paso que daré frente a ustedes.
I haven't been able to resolve it. This is the last step that I will be doing, coming here before you.
Los daños los presenté en el 2020
The damages, I presented them in 2020.
y el año pasado decidieron cortar el árbol porque miraron que los daños eran demasiados.
And last year, they decided to cut the tree off because they saw that the damages were severe.
Ya fue demasiado tarde.
But it was a little too late.
Ahora nadie se ha hecho responsable de los daños y la aseguranza
No.
de mi casa no los cubre.
Now, no one has stepped in to take responsibility for the damages, and my insurance is not covering it.
Están trabajando enfrente de mi casa, la ciudad está arreglando la banqueta y están haciendo arreglos.
The city is working in front of my house. They're fixing the sidewalk, and they are doing some adjustments.
So quería saber si hay alguna posibilidad de
So-
que se pueda hacer algo porque los gastos, el árbol quebró parte de mi propiedad, el driveway
So-
está cortado a la mitad.
So I want to see if you can actually come forward to help me with some of these damages that occurred because of that. There is the driveway that is actually cracked in half.
Pedí un estimado en cuánto salen los gastos para reparar eso y me salen más de $35,000 para hacer esa reparación.
I asked for some estimates to see what could be done to repair that situation, and I got an estimate about $35,000.
En el 2020 yo hablé con Ray, que es el que encargado de los árboles,
In 2020, I talked to Greg, who was in charge of the trees,
y nunca me solucionaron nada hasta que los daños accedieron a esa cantidad.
and they never resolved anything until the damages actually came up to that amount.
So, esa es la última parada que tengo frente a
So-
usted, Mayor,
This is the last stop that I have here in front of you, Mayor,
porque nadie ha hecho nada para ayudarme.
because no
en
one has done
cuanto-
nothing to help me.
Yo quise cortar el árbol y me dijeron que si yo tocaba ese árbol, a mí me iban a dar una multa.
I tried to cut that tree down, but they also told me that if I did that myself, then I would be responsible and pay some damages charges for that.
No hicieron nada, entonces los daños fueron más grandes
So
en
then,
cuanto a mi
since
propiedad.
nothing was done, then the damages actually got very severe to my property.
Cuando ya fueron y tomaron las fotos y miraron que los daños ya eran demasiados, entonces fue cuando tomaron la decisión de tumbar el árbol.
When they finally went to take some photos and they saw that the damages that were actually had occurred, that's when they decided to actually take the tree.
Pero ya fue demasiado tarde.
But then it was too late.
Gracias por su tiempo.
Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
Gracias.
It would be great if Allison
Sí,
can give you a
okay.
card so
Sí.
that we can follow up. All right, thank you. Next is Austin Grant.
Austin Grant, is he receiving?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Austin Grant. I'm a resident here of Modesto, California. I'm also a member of the Community Police Review Board. I'm not speaking here as a review board member, but more so as a citizen because I can't speak for everyone. So I'm speaking for myself here today. Recently at the meeting, we did have some concerns from citizens, from the citizens of Modesto. They were concerned about the municipal code section 4-23.02. Subsection 13. They believe, and I also believe, that police didn't necessarily handle the situation when it came to the protest correctly, especially when it came to like the first protest, right? I mean, when you guys seen the big protest that happened at Crusade, it was very peaceful. A lot of people there. I believe I saw a couple of you guys out there, and I believe that you guys thought it was peaceful as well. Otherwise, you guys wouldn't have joined in. But however, in the morning, I believe there was some things that went on that I don't necessarily agree with, and I believe others don't agree with. And it was about the mask. People there believed they had medical mask on to fit the ordinance. And for me, to see some of the things that were happening there, I can honestly say I wasn't pleased as a citizen. And so I do understand that you guys are city council and you guys are not necessarily going to make a decision today. I mean, that's pretty obvious here. And so for me, I would like for you guys to actually maybe go through and do a proposal, maybe to amend that section or even repeal it, but also going through and having a meeting with, staff, and also having a meeting with the city attorney to do some research on it, meaning go back to 2019 to see why the ordinance was even put into place, and also look into it and see if it actually has any viability currently right now. And I believe you guys could do that through council, and then also involving the community and having a public meeting or hearing around that section to not only hear from people that are going to be talking today, but also hear from other community members that may agree and may not agree. So you guys actually can get an understanding from both sides. But I also do know that there are people that are very disturbed by that, very disturbed. And as a city that promotes having a voice and having your own right and standing up for yourself, I truly believe that's something that we definitely need to look into. Because it's not just an issue with certain groups, it's actually an issue with multiple citizens in this area. And so I definitely appreciate you guys for allowing me to come up here today. And like I said, just go through the steps. Try to put a proposal through, do you guys' research with staff and also the city attorneys, and then also host a public meeting to try to get some public feedback from that, and then you guys can probably make your decision. But also understand that citizens are going to keep coming up here and talking about this issue until it's resolved. And so it would be smart to kind of get on this right away. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is John Mataka. So John Mataka is next? Yep. That's you. Gotcha.
Good evening. I'm John Mataka with Grayson Neighborhood Council. We're a grassroots organization that deals with environmental justice and social justice issues. I'm here also tonight to request a public hearing on that municipal code that the previous speaker just talked about. I talked with several people that were at the smaller protest at 1010 10th Street. And what it appears to be is that the police overreacted in that situation. They had thousands of people at the other march and a much smaller group there. But the differences between the two marches was that, or protests, was that one was no kings and the other one had to do with ICE. Okay, now, which leads me to an issue that as a citizen, I have to wonder, was that small protest profiled because of the issue? Was it the issue that caused the profiling by the Modesto Police Department? Or was it the color of the people at the protest? I'm just going to say it like it is. There's no nice way of saying it. Because they were definitely profiled. They came out with bullet rifles, and there was really no reason. And they used the mask as a reason to arrest 7 people. So I would just add this to the situation. You know, I went online, and it appears that the COVID variants, they're mutating, and the medical staff are urging people to, in large crowds, to wear masks again because of the variants, and they're changing. So, you know, this has to be discussed with the community, so I request a public hearing to hear all sides, as the previous speaker said. And I think that, to be honest with you, that the Modesto Police needs to look at how they dealt with that particular situation. Did it really need to go that far? Was there anything that really happened that day that warrants 7 people getting arrested? No. No. There was no violence at that protest. The only violence was the profiling by the Modesto Police Department. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Harlan Diver. Welcome.
Hello, Mayor. Hello, City Council members. My name is Harlan Diven. I'm a local attorney. I live in Modesto. I recently moved back to Modesto. I've been in LA and Oakland for a long time. I'm very happy to be back. I wanted to talk today about some police activity that I saw on June 14th that prior speakers have talked about. I just wanted to give my perspective on what happened. On the 14th, I was in Griseda Park and I saw one of these arrests. The police pulled up in an unmarked vehicle, jumped out, grabbed someone from the crowd, pulled them back into the unmarked vehicle, and took off. The whole arrest took about 4 minutes. There was no interaction, there was no conversation, and nothing had happened to provoke that arrest. These were pretextual arrests based on people wearing masks. Organizers were targeted. 3 of the 7 people arrested were unhoused youth under the age of 21. Again, almost half of the people arrested were unhoused youth. I think you're going to hear from some of them tonight as well. These arrests were the municipal code that everyone's been talking about. But what happened inside the jail is the sergeant and officers told people that were arrested that they were being charged with Penal Code 185. Penal Code 185 is enhancement for concealment or disguise while undertaking another crime. The crime was wearing a mask. That enhancement carries up to 6 months in jail or a $1,000 fine. None of those young people can afford $1,000. So those officers were threatening those young people with 6 months in jail. It's wrong, it's upsetting. As a member of the Modesto community, as an attorney, I'm appalled. All of these arrests looked similar. Unmarked vehicles, jumping out, grabbing someone armed, pulling them back into a vehicle and leaving. It's chilling, it's meant to be chilling, it's meant to affect free speech, and it's meant to keep people like me quiet. So thank you. I'm going to reserve the rest of my time for questions, but I appreciate you being here today and listening to all of us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Giancarlo. Giancarlo? Good evening.
Hey everybody, long time no see. I'm Giancarlo from the Central Valley Black Indigenous People of Color Coalition. We held that ICE Out protest, and I wanted to talk about police actions during that protest because what we have heard through multiple sources is that Chief of Police had targeted our protests specifically to enforce the municipal codes previously stated, such as banning certain masks during protests, and to enforce it was zero tolerance because it was a smaller protest. It was the first rally before the other one, and doing that exact same thing and enforcing those in the larger No Kinks protests would supposedly put their officers at risk. Also, we were targeted under the assumption that we were going to engage the same way that folks in Los Angeles were engaging. And as we have heard, a lot of people were getting arrested for non-violent reasons, wearing a mask, waving flags, and we witnessed it all. Somebody just grabbed from the crowd, no conversation, nothing, even before our protest had started. Police showed up in military gear, unmarked cars, like dressed up like SEAL Team 6 or like a SWAT team for a peaceful protest, and we had been peaceful the whole time. And we know exactly, and it was asked, was this profiling? Yes, it was. and it specifically was used to spread fear, target heavy suppression of peaceful protests due to the false narratives being spread about these types of protests, and again, discouraging our right for First Amendment free speech. This is discriminatory too, because our rally organizers and the attendants were predominantly Black Indigenous people of color. Our organization, Central Valley Black Indigenous People of Color. Of course, that was racially targeted and motivated. Okay, and we'll have people here that were arrested that can share their experiences. But the reason why we're here is we need y'all's help to get rid of such a mandate. And what we have here is that here's an image from the website that shows the leadership and organization chart of everybody here. And even above the mayor, y'all put Modesto voters. And that's why we are here, because we need to use that voter power in order to get y'all to actually set public policy that actually protects residents here and make us feel safe. I only got a couple more seconds, but this is what we need from y'all. We want to push for a full repeal of Modesto Municipal Code 42302, Section 13, and any ordinances used to criminalize protest and violate our First Amendment rights. We also want an independent investigation by our independent auditors on MPD's conduct, tactics, and use of force at that protest. And we want immediate dismissal of all charges against those arrested. And we want an end to targeted policing. Thank y'all.
Next is Nora. Right. Hello.
Hi, good evening. My name is Nora. I'm a resident of Modesto. I'm also a member of North Central Valley DSA, and I'm here, like many others today, to demand a reconsideration of Municipal Code 4-23.02, prohibiting masks and face coverings during public demonstrations, be repealed. The supposed purpose of the code is to ensure public safety during protests and rallies, but that is not what is happening when the code is being enforced. When the proposal of this code was brought to your predecessors, the police chief at the time argued that, quote, masks are only brought to events so that you have complete anonymity to do whatever you want, unquote. This condescending remark fails to address the fact that the organizers and participants, aside from wanting to protect their own health and the health of the public, are also in danger of doxing, violence, and targeted interactions with police. The comment also illustrates that police officers often think themselves above the law. When officers rushed in to grab citizens with no warning or explanation, wearing masks themselves in unmarked cars, it becomes clear that they are the ones who want anonymity to do whatever they want. When the chief showed his picture presentation full of nothing but emotionally charged images of protests in other parts of the country and state, to scare council into agreeing with him, he assured the audience that the ordinance was, quote, strictly for protests with the intention of violence, and added, quote, we know the potential for violence based on the intel that we get about these events. This code allows police to specifically target people based on their own biased so-called intelligence. They go into events having already convinced themselves that the participants or group are dangerous, or else use the prohibitions to pick out targets that they already have in mind. This code is a permit for police intimidation and discrimination. I'll end with a final quote from the day that this code was proposed. We are not looking to turn law-abiding citizens into criminals. We're looking to prevent violence. Well, on June 14th, MPD committed both physical and psychological violence against law-abiding citizens and then turned them into criminals. If this council has any decency, you will work to repeal the municipal code and call for all charges on those arrested to be dropped. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next is Nick.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I wanted to talk about my experience at the protest, both protests on 6/14. I also was a participant in the CV BIPOC protest about ICE and local ordinance and everything. And what I had experienced was specifically targeted police attacks, or not specifically attacks, but targeting of local officials and leaders that had organized that protest and during the march to the bigger protest. What I had noticed, and through my own experience as a history major, that these tactics were very reminiscent of the ongoing ICE tactics, and not only FBI targeted attacks during COINTELPRO against civil rights leaders and any civil rights activism during the 60s, 70s, and 80s. These tactics are alarming as they describe a more descent into not only a police state, but a fascist state, such as we are seeing not only here, but also in Europe and federally as well. What I have learned through the experiences of City BIPOC and through the protesters that were targeted during their experiences, that it was specifically targeted. They were levied jail time, fines, and bail, very reminiscent of what COINTELPRO, police states, and fascist states do in order to destroy local movements and stifle dissent against their regime. I also saw targeted against people using masks. I myself had used a mask not only for anonymity, but also for health. I have a grandma that has respiratory issues who herself had been hospitalized because of COVID several times. So I used my mask for my own safety and my own family safety as well. And seeing health being targeted to not only stifle dissent, but as itself as a weapon is very alarming. And I am here to speak my mind into that. I am also alarmed that the police gear and tactics were used. From what I saw of not only the CBB PIPOC protest, that it was extremely peaceful. We had abided by all of the demands about it being peaceful. We had no even signs that were reminiscent of what could be used in protests as riots as they had previously discussed, and we abided by the police, and yet several of our own members were still specifically targeted. Even at the peaceful protest, at the No Kings rally, I did watch police roll in hard, grab several people that were on the outskirts that seemed more vulnerable, grab them and drive off. And that is very alarming that we are allowing police to do that. And anything short of a reform of the ordinance for the mask and review of their tactics is nothing short of a descent further into fascism. Thank you.
Next is Manuela.
Good evening. I am Manuela, and I am a member of CV BIPOC and am a Modesto resident. So, fear. Fear is a tactic used to scare people. And what fear does is it psychologically and physiologically harms people. On June 14th, the Modesto PD decided to use fear tactics to look like ICE, which is an extreme scare tactic in this community, as this community is full of people of different backgrounds who are being targeted by this administration to be abducted, kidnapped, and sent to concentration camps. But Brandon Gillespie and the MPD did not care that day. They did this on purpose. They wanted to use their gear that they don't need. They wanted to scare people for no other reason than to scare people. They wanted to bully the CV BIPOC group. We cannot have this happen in our community. They were in unmarked vehicles, as you have heard. They were not identifying themselves. They did not identify why people were being arrested. And 7 people were sent to jail, as you have previously heard. So we have several demands. Our demands include a full repeal of Modesto Municipal Code 4-23.0213 and any ordinances used to criminalize, protest, and violate our First Amendment rights. An independent investigation by an independent auditor on the conduct, tactics, and use of force at the June 14th ICE Out protest. Immediate dismissal of all charges against those arrested, as well as the removal of all charges from their records. And an end to targeted political repression of Black, brown, immigrant, poor, and radical voices in Modesto and across the Central Valley. And we really do need those charges dropped. We have 3 people who are unhoused youth, and the last thing that they need is to have an absolutely ridiculous charge on their record. How is that going to help them in their community? How is that going to help them as they are trying to navigate living in shelters and trying to go forward in their life in a way where they are feeling safe? So please, we ask that you listen to the people who voted for you, and we ask that you take a deep look into what the MPD is doing to our people in Modesto. Thank you.
Welcome. Next is Anthony.
Please quit that clamping.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
You're welcome.
In particular, I'd like to say thank you. I noticed that we began this meeting with a proclamation about Disability Rights Month and a little bit of history on the ADA. I'd point out that under the ADA, long COVID also qualifies as a disability. So why is it that we tolerate a municipal code that's restricting usage of masks? Now, sure, there's exceptions for health and religious reasons, but when you have police officers jumping out of unmarked vehicles, not even having a conversation with the members of the community that they're violently detaining, how are you going to ask someone if they have a relevant exception? I can't see how we can tolerate a municipal code that allows this. The restriction of our First Amendment freedoms is something that should be intolerable. And I recognize that the council that passed that ordinance is not the same council that I'm speaking before now, but you have an opportunity to fix the mistakes of your predecessors. Because on Saturday, June 14th, when those peaceful protesters were arrested, is it because they were wearing masks? Yeah, on paper, sure, but the reality is clear. It's hard to believe that it was masks when a similar protest was not targeted just down the road. Sure seems a lot like profiling, as we've heard here today. And I'll share with the council, I have the privilege of teaching government to high school seniors in this community, and I don't know how I'm going to go back in the fall, look my students in the eye, and tell them they have the First Amendment freedom to protest when it's being restricted at the municipal level. This isn't something that's coming down from the federal government or from Sacramento. This is a problem we can fix right here in Modesto. All of you sitting up there have the power to do this, and I encourage you so strongly to use that power for the good of the people. Oh, because right now, political power is being used to suppress and repress the freedoms of the people, and that's not the Modesto that I know. That's not the Modesto that I'm proud to grow up in. And so please, we've already lost access to public comment via Zoom. We are less free than we used to be. There are common sense measures we can take for a more equitable, freer Modesto. As one of my colleagues correctly pointed out, at the top of the organizational chart for the city of Modesto, it's the voters, it's the people. Oh, and I believe that you all share that value and share that vision. And so I charge you, please live up to that ideal. Because when you look at the organizational chart for the Modesto Police Department, they very kindly provided at the last CPRB meeting, it doesn't have the people at the top, it doesn't have the voters, it has the chief of police. Who are they accountable to? Because it's not us. We come to you because we know they won't listen to us. So please, as a member of this community, as a lifelong Modesto resident, someone who is proud to call this place my home, please consider repealing this ordinance. Hence, the municipal code 423-0213 is unjust. We need full dropping of these charges against those that were arrested. We need to stop using politics as a weapon and start using city government to actually help our community. And I know you all are capable of that. You wouldn't have run for office if it didn't matter to you. So please do that job that we need you to do. Thank you.
You're welcome. And next is Gavin Bruce.
Good evening, Council. Thanks for the opportunity to speak tonight. I wanted to kind of go over some of the things that I saw at the June 14th protests. I was also here with, I was at the Central Valley BIPOC Coalition protest that started here at 10th Street Plaza. And the first thing I want to mention is that earlier, before I had gotten there, their PA system had been taken by the police. That's a PA system that not only they use to just convey the message and speakers of the event, which is their First Amendment right, but they also use the PA system in order to convey safety directions. And so since they got their PA system taken, they had to resort to their voice. And there were a lot of people down there. So there was a shouting that had to happen in order for them to convey safety information, like making sure that we all knew not to step into the street, that we knew not to jaywalk or cross the street, stay out of the way of traffic, respect businesses, things like that. And that information had to be conveyed in a way that was much more difficult without a PA system. So that was the first thing. As we walked further down, about 20 or 25 feet in front of me, I saw somebody with face mask be detained by the police. They pulled up in an unmarked vehicle on the wrong side of the street, and then they took this person. The two officers were dressed in full tactical gear. One of them was wearing a face mask, ironically, and they put him in the car and drove off with him. There was no conversation about why this person was being detained or anything. And so when I was thinking about this later, I think of how the police use discretion every day when they're doing their job. They don't pull people over for every single minor traffic violation. They have discretion. They're also professionals who understand how crowd psychology works. They understand de-escalation tactics, and they also know what it means, how to escalate a situation as well. And I believe that's what they were doing on June 14th. They were trying to coax the group into a violent confrontation that would have given them a headline the next day that said that would be better for their budget. It would saying that, you know, this riot or this protest had gotten out of hand, and that being the front page story in the Modesto Bee would have justified the fact that they take almost half of our general fund. And so I think they were doing that out of their own self-interest. And I want to say that the peaceful protest of, according to Modesto Bee, 4,000 people that day, that was not because of the police presence, it was in spite of the police presence. And so I strongly urge you to drop all charges of those people that were arrested, and also open an independent investigation into the practices of the police department on that day and in general to target this group as opposed to the other. So, thank you.
Thank you. Next is Steve.
I like what you've done with the place. I don't see a single cop in this up-close area, so it's looking quite nicer. Please raise your hand to people before me if you are very happy about the prospect of the death of democracy. Okay, raise your hand, those in front of me, if you are more than eager and are rooting for Donald Trump to succeed in completing the dictatorship that he is trying to establish right now. I see no hands on either questions.
We're not looking in back of you.
I'm not here, obviously Sue knows, I'm not here to talk to the woman behind me that's heckling me. But here's the thing. It's very important at this historical moment that we acknowledge that democracy is not built on laws that are dictated by police to cowardly politicians who say, yes, sir. That municipal code and the additions to it was created in the context of certain socio-political issues. It didn't happen in a vacuum, and it's not about safety. It happened when Proud Boys, Sue, you remember, Proud Boys coming and hijacking these meetings, you platforming neo-Nazis. It's very obvious that there's discrimination going on in this town. Here's the thing. How in the world at this historical moment can you live with yourselves knowing all that we're up against? Knowing that when I go and I watch the news and I see unmarked bounty hunters, I don't know what they are. Some of them have badges and they're acting just like the thugs, attacking people for the crime of just wanting to live, wanting to work hard, live, and love on their families. I was on my way to the park at Groseta that day, and what I saw, because my path was coinciding with the march, and I was just kind of keeping an eye on things, checking things out, because I was very worried. And what I happened upon was what the previous speaker described. The police were heavily targeting people in my community that were standing up for a system of values that I think are worth standing up for and that are akin to democracy and akin to the good life that we all want to live here in Modesto. I took pictures of the plates of those unmarked cars, and then I was arrested. I asked over and over and over again why I was being arrested, and MPD flat out refused to tell me the entire day and never told me. It is up to you folks in this historical moment to show us that you at least care a tiny bit about democracy. You need to meet all of the demands of the Central Valley BIPOC Coalition, and that includes having all those charges dropped and repealing the code. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next is Ian. Ian?
Hey everyone. I am here as a member of North Central Valley DSA and as a supporter of CV BIPOC. I'm here to speak on the tension that I see between respectful, peaceful community members who are simply exercising their First Amendment rights and the fear-mongering, terrorizing methods used by police officers who are ostensibly sworn to protect them. Snatch and grab arrests, pointing guns, breaking bones, riding around in unmarked vehicles. These are tactics meant to instill terror and cause people to lose faith in the Constitution and their right to free speech and free assembly. It could not be clearer that there is one side in this conflict who are violent thugs and one side who are concerned, peaceful community members. The reason I'm up here today is that these violent thugs hold badges and wear uniforms, and these violent thugs very clearly believe that they can do whatever they want to whomever they want. The obvious double standard of enforcement, allowing demonstrators at a larger and whiter rally in downtown Modesto to wear masks and carry signs and poles, while at the same time violently attacking folks at this much smaller rally, demonstrates a police force that is unaccountable to the people and believes that they can do whatever they want. It is time to rethink this absurd municipal code. It is time to rethink who we put in charge of protecting our communities. Perhaps those tasked with keeping the peace should be peaceful. Perhaps those tasked with protecting the community should actually care about the community. I commend these peaceful protesters who were detained earlier this month, and I suggest that they demonstrated more bravery in one summer day in June than the MPD officers who brutalized them have demonstrated throughout their entire careers. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Next is Emmanuel Lopez.
Good evening. Hello, my name is Emmanuel, and today I'm here, like many of us today, to express what I saw take place on June 14th at the CV BIPOC and No Kings protest. 7 members of our community were wrongfully detained during the peaceful protests that ensued throughout the day. Out of the 7 people being detained, I witnessed 2. The first was at the beginning of the gathering. The Modesto Police Department was already posted up. From what I recall, through a blowhorn, they were stating what sounded like various methods of riot control and crowd management. You can only imagine what this does to you as a civilian exercising their First Amendment right in a peaceful manner. Fear. I second-guess myself being a person of color and a son of 2 immigrants. I pull myself together and hold my ground, remembering all of the injustice going on within our community and throughout the nation. Abductions of innocent men and women being taken from their loved ones. Within the next 10 to 20 minutes, the unlawful arrests begin. Someone is being pulled from the crowd with no warning by an officer in tactical gear from head to toe. An officer who is supposed to uphold the Constitution and protect the people who exercise their rights that are given by the Constitution, detaining an individual without reading their rights and without being told why they were being arrested. The second arrest I witnessed happened in similar fashion. 2 vans parked outside a coffee shop arrested an individual simply walking on the sidewalk and taking photos of unmarked police vehicles. Moments later, this person is arrested unlawfully, given no charge of detainment, with none of their rights read to them. Not only is there no formal procedure, but compliance from this individual is met with excessive force by the arresting officers, breaking the finger of this person. Fear. Fear for peaceful citizens. All of these detainments, a presentation of fear for peaceful citizens. Fear. A tactic to suppress the people speaking out of injustice in their community. I ask anyone employed by the Modesto Police Department if their intentions and priorities in their position is to instill fear into the public, wrongfully detain the public, or profile the public who are protected by the Constitution and therefore under the protection of your oath to resign. And I ask the City Council to commit to ending injustice in your community and drop the charges of the individuals arrested. Thank you.
Next is Leah Haskett, or Hassett.
Hi, how's the sound? Okay.
Good.
My name's Leah Hassett. I was there on June 14th at the CV BIPOC rally that started at 1010 10th Street. I live in Modesto. I've raised 2 children here, and they're young adults. I went with my young daughter of 21 to the rally, and I was excited to have her along because I want her to feel like she has agency. And I want her to feel like she has a voice, because I think I really think that's what y'all want, like what we all want for our kids and our kids here in the Valley. We want them to have agency, we want them to have voice, and we do not want them to undergo repression, feel oppressed, feel like they don't have power. And unfortunately, at the rally, which felt powerful for parts of it, for a lot of it, there was us witnessing people being grabbed, put into cars, unmarked cars, and that was repression, that was oppression, that was not freedom, that did not inspire agency, that did not inspire civic engagement in young people or anybody. I mean, maybe it gives us a little more something to protest against, but you need to gain back the trust of the community. The police do, you do. It's hard to have a voice when, a lot of people say, why do you go to protests? And they say, it doesn't do anything. Well, my mom always said, what if nobody went to protests ever? Is that what we want? Do we want people to, stay silent, just, get on with your life and don't speak out? That would be an incredibly ugly world. That would be like 1984. So we just can't have that. We need to make this a safe community to speak out, and that means police cannot act like ICE. Like I said at that last Monday's meeting or whatever, that, it seemed like the police had looked at the things that ICE was doing online and just copied them. And it inspired so much fear in me and other people to see that, because obviously ICE is completely unpredictable and terrorizing right now, and it's just so frightening, and it needs to stop. And so I'm just here to say, you know, all of the asks that CV BIPOC is asking and that this group is asking, I totally endorse, and I'm just really, really anxious to see those unnecessary repressive codes be abolished and the charges dropped.
Thank you. At this time, is there anyone else that would like to speak under public comment? And this is for items not on the agenda. Welcome.
I didn't do a card because I'm lazy that way, I guess. Good evening, council, mayor, city staff. My name is Liz Talbot. I'm not a resident of Modesto. I'm a resident of Waterford, where I proudly serve on the city council there. I was one of the organizers of the rally at Gresada, and therefore was not able to attend the BIPOC-sponsored event in front of City Hall. But I'm here to speak in solidarity with them. You know, as council members, right, like oftentimes there are times when we reevaluate or revisit previously passed ordinances, regulations, right, that may have run their course. It might be city signs, it might be any number of city policies. And I think this is time to look at that. I carry the Constitution with me. I'm very familiar with the First Amendment. I've never seen anything in there about a dress code. And I think it's time for the city to take the opportunity to revisit this, to take a look at how the situation is now, right? We have two very disparate perceptions, right, of how the people at the smaller rally were treated versus the larger rally. And if police responded to people wearing masks because they were worried about public safety, it seems like a large rally would have been, like, logically the place where you might want to be more concerned about people wearing masks. That was not the case. I also speak on behalf of the constituents of Waterford who attended the No Kings rally, who left early when they heard that arrests had occurred. These are constituents who had been seeing day after day after day on the news and hearing from loved ones in Los Angeles about how people who looked like them were targeted and taken off the street by ICE or by people cosplaying as ICE. Who knows, right? And these are young folks from mixed immigration status families who now felt like something might happen to them, and they wanted to keep their families safe and keep themselves safe, so they left. And therefore, your city has violated the First Amendment rights of constituents of my city. And when we swore an oath, when we took office, we swore to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the state of California, and I feel like this ordinance is keeping you from holding truth to that oath. Thank you.
You're welcome. I would just like to make a comment. For those of you that are standing, you will all get an opportunity. Feel free to sit. It might be a long time standing, and not everybody can tolerate that. So if you'd like to, I'd appreciate it if you would take a seat. Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Efren Diaz. I was part of the organizing committee for CV BIPOC for the protest and march that started in 10th Street Plaza on Saturday, June 14th. Like I mentioned to the Civilian Police Review Board last week, whenever we put on an action protest that is affiliated with our coalition, we always put the safety of our participants and members first. We never want anyone to say that they got hurt or things got out of hand at any of our actions or protests. But on Saturday, June 14th, there was an agitation and escalation. It wasn't by any individual who was from out of town. It was our very own Modesto PD. Without any warning, they arrested a participant of our protest for wearing a mask and holding a flag. He was charged for resisting arrest when he did not resist, and his bail was put on for $3,000. Not only this, but when we asked why he was being arrested, we were met with a 12-gauge shotgun to the face and officer yelling, "Get back." That day, MPD was not a public servant, but someone looking for a fight, for agitation. In a climate where immigrants, both documented and undocumented, are being taken by masked men without any notice you would think that MPD would think twice about using these very tactics. But it looks like they were inspired by ICE and even took it a step further and shoved guns in our faces because of a peaceful crowd marching down the street wearing masks. No one wore a mask to commit crimes. So we come to you all today with our demands: a full repeal of Modesto Municipal Code 4-23.0213 and any other ordinances used to criminalize protests and violate our First Amendment rights, an independent investigation by CPRB's independent auditor of MPD's conduct, tactics, and use of force at CV BIPOC's June 14th ICE Out protest, immediate dismissal of all charges against those arrested, as well as the removal of all charges from their records, and an end to targeted political repression of Black, brown, immigrant, poor, and radical voices in Modesto and across the Central Valley.
All right, thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alex Garcia, and obviously I'm part of the Latino community here. I was also one of the organizers of the ICE Out protest. And I'd like to start by saying that, yeah, I may be a citizen who was born in Zuckerberg San Francisco General Hospital. I mean, what could be more American than that? But my family immigrated here from Nicaragua in the late 80s. And my family was fortunate enough to be granted amnesty to stay here and gain legal status. But what I'm seeing today on a federal level is a reversal of those same policies that my family benefited from in order to expand the definition of what is an illegal immigrant. Nicaraguenses, just like my family, are now being targeted for deportation despite having entered the same exact way. Those of us with legal status in this country have not only a right to protest these fascist policies, but a responsibility. But doing so puts us and our families at risk of being targeted for a deportation. So it stands to reason that many of us will want to cover our identities for anonymity. There's nothing violent or criminal about being anonymous. The current municipal code is simply a convenient way to stifle dissent and limit free speech, especially that of Black, brown, and indigenous people. Freedom of expression is protected as free speech under the First Amendment, and wearing a mask to remain anonymous is a form of free expression. It symbolizes a desire to restrict the Orwellian surveillance state that we live in now. So arresting peaceful protesters simply trying to protect their identities and their loved ones is a violation of their constitutional rights. The city ordinance banning masks during a protest is not only unconstitutional, but it is redundant, because there's currently a California law which restricts concealing your identity when committing a crime. In fact, a few of those who were arrested that day were charged under that same California law. What was their crime? Violating the Modesto City Ordinance against masking at a protest. So it is for that reason that I demand all charges of those arrested be dropped and the city ordinance be completely repealed. And if the city council does not do so, I promise to fight tooth and nail to ensure that it is.
Hi, my name is Leah. I'm a resident and concerned community member of Modesto. I am here to chime in along with others who have previously spoken to denounce the police violence and repression that occurred at the ICE Out anti-deportation protest that took place on Saturday, June 14th, where 6 of my fellow community members were unjustly arrested and detained for nearly 12 hours for simply peacefully protesting and exercising their constitutional rights. As has been mentioned, a majority of them were arrested on a trumped-up charge having to do with Modesto's anti-mask ordinance, Municipal Code 4-23.02, subsection 13. I join my fellow community members and people of conscience here tonight in calling on City Council members to repeal this ordinance, as it has been clearly weaponized against community members and increased public danger due to the reckless, discriminatory actions of law enforcement who did not even bother to ask people why they were masking. Assuming intent to commit a crime because someone is masking is blatant profiling and a violation of our basic rights. As community members, we have the right to protect and defend ourselves against illness, as well as doxing and harassment from punitive bullying cops and fascist vigilantes who think they're above the law. Contrary to how they think and behave, police officers are not above the law, and there need to be consequences for those who act in such a manner. Again, I call upon all of City Council to leverage your power in repealing Municipal Code 4-23.02, subsection 13. In addition, I explicitly want to advocate for expanding the power of the Community Police Review Board so that the board can actually and meaningfully hold MPD accountable with an independent investigation. We don't need MPD to whitewash their crimes against our community. If MPD feels empowered to threaten unhoused youth with guns, snatch people off the streets without warning, break their fingers, shackle, isolate, and detain them for hours on end, something certainly needs to change with how the Modesto Police Department operates. Thank you for your time.
Hi, my name's Isaac. I was one of the 7 arrested that day on June 14th, and I just wanted to go ahead and thank all of you for the support. I honestly was not expecting this a day in my life, and I just wanted to say that again. Thank you all. So, thank you.
Hi, my name is Jessica. I'm a member of the community, and I was also present at the Ice Out protest on June 14th. I want to start out by saying that Modesto Police Department put in minimal effort in educating the community about this municipal code. The post is still up on Facebook and their social media. They posted the entire municipal code and specifically left out the subsection regarding masks. The only announcement that they made during the protest was while one of our speakers was educating us on our rights and how to stay safe at a protest. They also did so quietly that you really couldn't hear them. I was personally standing very close to MPD and I couldn't even hear them. When MPD made their detainments throughout the day, many of which I witnessed, they did so using unnecessary violence and fear tactics. MPD arrived in unmarked vehicles, came out in riot gear, and apprehended people without advising why they were being detained, oftentimes waving around their riot guns at the people they were detaining and even the people in the crowd. During the detainments, there was no resistance from any of those that were taken. Everyone who was taken cooperated. They were expressing no signs of violence or aggression, but MPD consistently tried to agitate the situation. MPD never asked any of those who were detained why they were wearing masks, despite the ordinance acknowledging medical or religious exemptions. In contrast, after this ordinance was passed, at the straight pride parades or during some of the Proud Boys rallies over the years, arrests for masks were either minimal or non-existent at some of these rallies, despite many of those individuals becoming violent and aggressive with counter-protesters and police themselves. It feels deliberate and specific that MPD chose methods that would inform as few people as possible about this code restricting masks, leading up to and during our protest. It feels deliberate that MPD used the same tactics for detaining individuals that ICE has been using. And it is painfully obvious that MPD is pushing a political agenda when they choose which events they enforce this code and which they do not. MPD was not operating with the interest of public safety on June 14th. They were attempting to incite fear and violence at an otherwise peaceful protest under the guise of a mask ordinance. Make no mistake, they will continue to use this ordinance to abuse their power and enforce their agenda. MPD will continue to target at-risk individuals, minorities, and those that don't agree with their politics under the guise of safety. This ordinance simply makes it easier for them to justify their abuse of power. We demand a full repeal of Modesto Municipal Code 4-2302, subsection 13, and any ordinance used to criminalize protest and violate our First Amendment rights. And I would like to remind those sitting here in front of me today that you are elected by the people who have spoken to you all evening about this ordinance. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, I am Daisy Mae Strauss. I live here in Modesto. I'm here to raise my voice in support of Central Valley BIPOC coalitions and to ask you all to drop the charges, repeal this mask ordinance and to expand the review board, the MPD review board, to allow them to be able to investigate these matters and to hold the police accountable for its abuses of our community. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, good evening, Mayor, Council Board, and community. My name is Laura Plasencia, and I am a lifelong resident of Stanislaus County and work with Valley Improvement Projects located here in Modesto. I am grateful for the opportunity to speak and provide a comment, and I am here out of fear that we're going into a direction of oppression and towards fascism, and not just federally, which we already knew, but now here locally. This raises a lot of flags that Modesto PD is not with our people, but against, and fear that if we don't stand up today, it can be a matter of time until even engaging in democratic practices like making a public comment like this can no longer be an option. If you think that sounds crazy, 5 years ago, I would say unmarked vehicles taking people while practicing their right to protest here in Modesto sounds crazy, yet here we are. With their current approaches, I don't trust that they would fight against that. I'm here to support the previous comments in regard to the immediate dismissal of the charges for those who were arrested and their records, and I'd like to demand an open investigation of the hostile behavior from the Modesto PD, and overall a reassessment and potential removal of the penal code for that. I'd like to also express my disappointment and frankly disgust and frustration with the Modesto PD lack of cultural and emotional competency and acts of hostility clearly siding with the oppressors. In good faith, our community came out to be a voice for those who can't come out of fear for their safety and livelihoods. The same people who put food on our table and who do our construction and so on. And instead of being proud of our community for standing up for others, they get treated this way and get arrested without legitimate reason to believe that they were going to engage in criminal activity. Instead, simply protecting their health and of those around them. Where am I? Those were acts of discrimination and silencing of our community, and we will not allow that. You should not allow that. And in these moments, more than ever, your support means more than you guys may think. Please help us not allow our community to become that type of toxic environment. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, my name is Monica Flores, and I went to the protest as well, and I just wanted to say what I seen and how I felt. And I went with my oldest son there and my husband who couldn't make it today. But as soon as it started, that's when the police came and took that poor young man over there. Nothing was said to him and nothing was said back. Like, it was shocking, and it scared me. It scared my son. It was just, it felt crazy. I've been to a protest long ago, I've been to a couple, I've never seen anything like that, especially to a peaceful protest that has just started. It was just aggressive. I seen that one, and I seen the other gentleman with the long hair. We were walking, and we seen him get picked up with 2 unmarked cars swarming, and it looked like guns pointed straight to him and everything, and it was scary. It scared all of us, and it felt intentionally scary. And I felt like it was trying to stifle us and make us not want to continue on. And it actually made the opposite for me. It made me feel obligated to be here and to stand up for my community and my fellow citizens that are here, and for my kids that live here. I want a better place, and I want to be able to trust those people that are supposed to protect us, and I want them to be able to trust them too. And that, June 14th, it didn't show that, and it was scary. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jasmine Navarro. I'm also a Modesto community member here. And after hearing everyone speak, I feel like it's important to give some context as well. I feel like it's more heartbreaking considering all of the fear and anxiety and stress that all of our communities are feeling during these times of repression, and to see our fellow community members that are part of the police force participate in this violence is incredibly upsetting. And I choose and ask everyone here to hope and for better and to ask for more. I feel a lot of this is common sense of what we've heard and the bare minimum, and I want to ask for more. If we're going to keep funding the police as much as we do, I hope that we can do greater things that actually are for the community. I hope that we can work together more and can work together as a community. The context of how everyone is feeling, it's weird to say this is a sanctuary state when there is so much fear in our communities. And the law that allows us to be a sanctuary state limits the police working with ICE, and I want to see how they're actively protecting from ICE as well, and how they are working against as well, and how they can legally work and be here to protect and serve our community. And I hope we can work together and hope and wish and dream for more and work towards that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Hello.
Hi, my name is Cecilia Flores, and I'm also part of the community here. And I was also part of the organization with Central Valley BIPOC. And we had tried and talked to the other group that was a Griseda. And I just want to say that one of the things that was more important for us was to come to an agreement that we would have an organized protest and actually take the people from here all the way to Griseda with nobody getting out of hand. One of the things was that once we started organizing here, there was already police involvement already there before we even got here, to organize and to put out a table with information, letting them know people's rights and everything, and it just escalated. It just seemed like they wanted us to move along, not have our protest, not have our engagement here, and not join the other group. We actually did communicate with the other group that we would be merging both of the protest here with the other engagement over there, and that it would be a peaceful walk from here to there. And I just want to say that I want everybody that was arrested that day for the charges to be dropped. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hello, my name is Marisol Ramirez, and I wasn't planning on speaking. I came here to support my niece, but after listening to all the speakers, I started thinking, right now, the only people in this country that have free speech are the U.S. citizens. Legal residents don't have it. They will come after you, and they will take your residency. Any kind of student visa, any kind of refugee, they're all legal, but they don't have free speech. So when some gentleman said that he was wearing a mask because he doesn't want to be identified, not because he's committing a crime, because like somebody else said, the Hispanics, especially first generation, we're mixed immigration status. So what if somebody identifies them and then decides to go knock on their house and there is a resident, legal, he might be a legal resident, he might be a U.S. citizen, but maybe his wife has a green card. Maybe they have a child with a student visa. They could be identified, and then they could go to that house and arrest them, even though they're all legal. But right now, the only people in this country that have free speech are U.S. citizens. If you're legal, but you're not a U.S. citizen, you cannot speak because they will target you. Just today, I saw on the news a young tourist got denied entry because he had a picture of the vice president on a meme. On a meme. So they denied this tourist to come in. They got his phone, they found that had this funny picture, and they said, nope, you can't come in as a tourist. So yeah, the only people right now are U.S. citizens. So yes, some people do not want to be identified. But if you want to, you can see the mask, you can tell who they are. But they rather not be flashed all over TV because of that. They can come after their family. Not because they're illegal, it could be illegal. But right now, that's what it is right now, unfortunately. Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there anyone else that wanted to speak?
Good evening, City Council. My name is Anne Marie. I am also a member of Central Valley BIPOC Coalition. But today I would like to speak more for myself as a constituent of Modesto. You've already heard everybody speak about the arrests of the protests on Saturday on June 14th. I was not at that protest, but I am very intimate with what happened that day. I have seen videos. There's much video evidence to prove that these people have not committed any crimes and that they were detained and arrested unlawfully. I just want to reiterate and support the demands of Central Valley BIPOC, which is a full repeal of Modesto Municipal Code 4-23.0213, subsection 13. Any ordinances used to criminalize protests and violate our First Amendment rights. I know that is within your power to do, and I ask that you do that expediently. I also co-sign the demand for an independent investigation by the Committee Police Review Board. I also ask that you expand the power of the Police Review Board so that we can have an independent review of the MPD and not an internal review, as they have shown to not be trusted to do their own internal reviews. I also ask for an independent auditor of MPD's conduct, tactics, and use of force at Central Valley BIPOC's June 14th ICE Out protest, an immediate dismissal of all of the charges against those arrested, as well as the removal of all charges from their records, an end to targeted political repression of Black, brown, immigrant, poor, and radical voices in Modesto and across the Central Valley. I just want to reiterate as well, fascism is here. We see it abroad. The United States shares a political and military project with the state of Israel. We see how those weapons being sent abroad are now also being used on our citizens here. It's happening in Modesto. And I know that you all do not support fascism, unless you do, and in which case you should not be in the position you are. But you work for us. We don't support fascism. And we ask that you use everything in your power as our representatives to say no to fascism and to eugenics. People need to be able to mask themselves for protection against COVID and also to protect our identities in the face of a surveillance state. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Starting the clock over.
Good evening. I just want to remind folks who have been coming to the microphone to give you thanks for allowing us to be here and to make public comments. It is our right to make a public comment. We are not asking for your permission to exercise our rights. So no thanks to you for allowing me to be here because I'm exercising my rights just like people were exercising their rights on June 14th to freedom of expression and the First Amendment rights to wear a mask. Whether it was because it was a cool mask or if it was a medical mask or if it was a religious belief or the reason was for religious belief. You heard from many today very eloquently about our demands to repeal this ordinance, to empower the Civilian Review Board for an independent investigation. But I would like to help demystify some of the things that I know that the chief has been lying to you about. Their fascist behavior and excessive use of force should not be tolerated. The chief says that he targeted our group because we were first and that he wanted to show us that there was zero tolerance for wearing a mask. Well, the code has an exception, also known as tolerance. Medical and religious belief, but no one person that was arrested was asked why they were wearing a mask. The chief assumed that we were going to commit a crime with no evidence at all. The chief says that he was watching our social media platforms and that he lied to you about our intent. Our intent was to show solidarity with those who were being targeted by ICE in our neighboring communities and across the country. He lied to you when he told you that we advocated to violate the law by asking people to mask up. That is a straight up lie. And he should be accountable. Shame on the chief. Shame on him for trying to make us out as criminals before we even committed a crime, and to then criminalize us by choosing to enforce a local ordinance in an illegal manner while having his officers wear a mask. Shame on him for using the tactics that we were actually talking about and about protesting against. Shame on him for trying to escalate instead of de-escalate. Instead, he should have been there to make sure that we were crossing the street safely, that no cars, like the motorcycle that was on 13th Street, was revving up on us while we crossed the street. No, they were there to intimidate us. Shame on him for terrorizing the CV BIPOC community while we were already in a state of anger and fear for the clear violations of our constitutional rights. Shame on him for undoing the hard work we put effort into for over 2 years to bring a civilian review board and say that this is for transparency and accountability. Shame on you if you do not hold a public hearing and repeal the mask ordinance. Shame on Chief Gillespie. Shame, 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 shame.
You know what, Bianca?
Shame.
You've exceeded your time.
Shame. Shame.
Shame. All right. I wasn't. All right. Did Loretta? Were you? I just wasn't sure if you were coming up here or if you were not. I just.
Yes, I will. I will say this, no, I wasn't going to, but hearing all of this, I would like to tell them, all of you, back in the 50s, we were arrested for different things. And now, well, I'm way over 85, but by gollies, I know now why they did to us back in those days. When you guys are my age, I'll guarantee you'll look back and you'll see why in the world the police do as they do, because police have got to. We need the police, every darn bit of them. And please quit downing them, because one of these days you're going to see where they're good. Because I myself just had big robberies. But police can't do much of anything because the way that thefts are done in this city. And because there's plenty of kids who ride bikes down streets and do everything imaginable. Police try and do something, they're down for it. So yes, everybody downs the police, but still in all, we need them. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, any other people that would like to speak regarding items not on tonight's agenda?
Hello, good evening. I really wasn't planning to speak today. I really wanted to listen. But in regards to that last statement, I think what comes up for me is I'm not about abolishing the police. No worries. There were police there that behaved in acceptable manners. They made sure some cops made sure people crossed the street perfectly fine. But the question is, why were there cops in SWAT patches? I witnessed it. I have a few photos. It says it very clearly. Why did they show up out of nowhere and arrest people in ways that why did they draw guns? My other question is, how much money did that cost the city? to behave in that way. We can set politics aside. You know, this bill that's about to go through the Senate is going to cost this nation about $2 to $4 trillion in debt. We're about to go further into our debt. Why can we not look at this, at least from an economic point of view? We want to set morals aside, fine. We want to set emotions aside, fine. What did this serve to benefit the economic health of this community? And so in regards to the police, yes, there should be police. But why can't they behave in such a way that is economically viable and acceptable and keeping the order such that businesses can be, put it this way, on J Street. Cops go up and down J Street. And there was a time about a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, where cops were walking into the businesses at night. This excavated all of the different members in the different bars, all the people attending, to leave. That's not good for this community. Why are we behaving in this way? Authoritarianism is not necessarily a good way morally, but especially not economically either. So it's more about a practicality versus just a political issue. So I ask, just with everything everyone else has said, consider that, but also consider just from a practical point of view, the behavior that was exhibited on June 14th was not good for the community in multiple facets. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Is there anyone else at this time? All right. Thank you. Next on the agenda is consent items. An item may be removed from consent and discussed at the request of a member of the public or a council member. Is there anyone on the council that would like a consent item removed for further discussion? Seeing none, is there anyone in the public that would like an item removed from consent for further discussion or comment? Welcome.
Item 15, I have questions and comments.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Will the city clerk please? Will the city clerk please read the consent items?
Item number 5, consider approving the minutes for the June 10th, 2025 council meeting. Item number 6, consider approving final adoption of ordinance 3796-CS, amending section 8-10.102, membership of commission of Title 8, Chapter 10, Citizens Transportation Sales Tax Commission. Item number 7, consider approving final adoption of ordinance 3797-CS of the City Council of Modesto, amending Title 10, zoning regulations of the Modesto Municipal Code, amending Chapter 2, definitions, Article 1, definitions, Chapter 3, land use regulations, Article 1, permitted and conditional land uses, Chapter 3, Article 2, specific land use regulations, Chapter 4, development standards, Article 1, residential zones, and Chapter 4, Article 5, accessory dwelling units. Item number 8, consider approving the Economic Development Strategic Plan 2025. Item number 9 has been pulled from consent for separate vote. Item number 10. Item number 10, consider approving a cost-sharing agreement with the County of Stanislaus for the construction of the urban pavement preservation Phase G and Phase H projects. Item number 11, consider accepting the State Route 132 West Freeway Expressway Phase 1 project as complete, releasing securities and releasing payments totaling $100,285,151 to Bay Cities Paving and Grading Incorporated of Concord, California, and authorizing the city clerk to file a notice of completion. Item number 12, consider approving Measure L Master Funding Agreement with Stanislaus County Council of Governments for fiscal year 2025 through 2030. Item number 13, consider approving a will serve letter and outside service agreement with CLR Properties, LLC, a California limited liability company, to connect to the connect to the City of Modesto's existing sewer system for the property located at 2204 Crows Landing Road. Item number 14, consider approving the submittal of up to 8 federal grant applications for congestion mitigation and air quality and surface transportation block grant funds. Item number 15 was removed from consent. Item number 16, consider approving the plans and specifications for the Park Turf Reduction Phase 2 project and awarding a construction contract to Marina Landscape Incorporated of Orange, California in the amount not to exceed $1,029,236. Item number 17, consider approving the First Amendment with Peregrine Technologies from San Francisco, California for analytics and data integration platform, increasing the agreement amount by $60,000. Item number 18, consider approving the submission of grant applications for the California Violence Intervention and Prevention Grant Program to the Board of State and Community Corrections for up to $2 million in grant funds. Item number 19, consider approving the grant applications, grant awards, and amending the annual budget for all the beverage container recycling city-county payment programs to California Department of Resources, Recycling, and Recovery. Item number 20, consider approving submittal of grant applications, accepting grant awards, and amending the annual budget for all used oil payment program grants to California Department of Resources, Recycling, and Recovery. Item number 21, consider approving a list of projects to be funded with the Road Repair and Accountability Act tax proceeds for fiscal year 2025-2026. Item number 22, consider approving the extension of the compost facility flexible cells pricing pilot program originally approved on April 2nd, 2019 for a 5-year extension effective August 1st, 2025 through July 31st, 2030. Item number 23, consider approving the First Amendment with HDR Engineering Incorporated of Folsom, California to complete assigned work and to gain regulatory compliance for the Carpenter Road landfill, increasing the agreement amount by $47,800 over the term of the agreement. Item number 24, consider approving the Second Amendment with HDR Engineering Incorporated from Folsom, California for the feasibility study for compost, increasing the agreement amount by $94,658 over the term of the agreement. Item number 25, consider confirming the detachment of non-contiguous city property deeded to Reclamation District 2091. Item number 26, consider approving an architectural services agreement with Red Inc. Architects of Modesto, California for the Fire Station 1 rehabilitation and tenant improvement projects in the amount of $429,490 plus $42,949 in additional services if needed for an agreement total not to exceed $472,439.
All right. May I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Motion to approve all items except for 9 and 15. Second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Wright and a second by Councilmember Williams. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Bavaro?
Aye.
Councilmember Williams?
Aye.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Escutia-Brayton?
Aye.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Aye.
Mayor Zwallen?
Aye. Carries unanimously. Given there is a conflict of interest, I'll ask the city attorney on how to proceed with conducting item 9.
Thank you, Mayor. We do have several resolutions. I think 3 are the ones that involve conflicts of council members. My suggestion is, and this is for consider approving the renewal of 8 commercial cannabis retail permits for dispensaries in the city for a 2-year period ending June 30th, 2027. It's still under consent, but for separate vote, we could take the first 5 resolutions that no conflict exists all together by one vote. The 6th resolution dealing with McHenry Comic Management, LLC, that one we'll do it by separate vote with Councilmember Wright recusing himself due to a property-related interest. And the last 2 resolutions, 7th and 8th, dealing with Fino's Collective and Paradise West, we'll do that one under separate vote as well. And for that one, Vice Mayor will be recusing himself.
All right, thank you. So I will release commercial cannabis retail permit for a 2-year period ending June 30th, 2027. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Wright, second by Councilmember Ricky, and will the clerk call the roll for these 5 resolutions?
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Bavaro?
Aye.
Councilmember Williams?
Aye.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Escudia Brayton?
Aye.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Aye.
Mayor Zwallen?
Aye. Carries unanimously. Councilmember Wright will now recuse himself. We have a resolution approving the renewal of McHenry Comic Management LLC's commercial cannabis retail permit for a 2-year period ending June 30th, 2027. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilmember Williams.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Escudia Brayton, and will the clerk call the roll for this resolution?
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Bavaro?
Aye.
Councilmember Williams?
Aye.
Councilmember Escudia Brayton?
Aye.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Aye.
Mayor Zwallen?
Aye. Carries 6-0 with Councilmember Wright recused. Now Councilmember Bavaro will recuse himself from these 2 resolutions. Resolution approving the renewal of Finos Collective Incorporated commercial cannabis retail permit for a 2-year period ending June 30th, 2027, and a resolution approving the renewal of Paradise West Incorporated commercial cannabis retail permit for a 2-year period ending June 30th, 2027. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion by Councilmember Ricky.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Escudia Brayton. And will the clerk please call the roll for these 2 resolutions?
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Councilmember Williams?
Aye.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Escudia Brayton?
Aye.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Aye.
Mayor Zwallen?
Aye. So that carries 6-0 with Councilmember Bavaro recusing himself for those 2 resolutions. Before we go to consent item 15, we will take an 8-minute break and come back here at 7:35 p.m. This is consent item 15. Consider approving a purchase and sale agreement with Central California Conference Association of Seventh-day Adventist Church for $260,000, a grant deed, a grant of temporary construction easement, and a quit claim deed for grantor's interest in the Hetch Hetchy right-of-way for the Hetch Hetchy and Claritina Avenue structural crossing project. So we will begin with the staff report.
Good evening, Mayor, City Councilor. Toby Wells, Director of Engineering Services and City Engineer. So the item this evening for your consideration of item 15 is the purchase of approximately 11,000 square feet of property on the north side of Clarentina between McHenry and Coffee. The purpose of the right-of-way acquisition is for the ultimate widening of Clarentina Avenue between that stretch of roadway. We've been working on this acquisition for a number of years. Finally reached agreement with the church to acquire that property. So in addition to the property, there was a small outbuilding that was on the property, so that will be acquired as well. In addition to a temporary construction easement to allow us to build the property, and that will allow that project to move forward. We still have some work to do with Hetch Hetchy, but this action allows us to move forward with the design of the ultimate improvements for Clarentina between McHenry and Coffee. And happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Does council have any questions of staff? Councilmember Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. So is in between, is it on the corner of Coffee and Clarentina?
No, this is on the north side of Clarentina, east of McHenry. So right where Hetch Hetchy crosses Clarentina, it's just west of the Hetch Hetchy crossing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, any other questions from council members? Seeing none, any comments from the public regarding consent item 15?
Well, I'm Kevin McClarty, District 1. I'm a little confused by this because maybe I misread it, but the first time I read it, I thought that it said that they were removing one house. But, located, severance damages consisting of removal of a 37 square foot single-family residence located at 301 Clarentina Avenue. Are they removing a farmhouse? And does this involve any kind of encroachment upon farmland? I mean, if this is removing a farmhouse, is it also encroaching upon a farm, an existing farm? And that's my first question. And my second question is, it says a grant of temporary construction easement. Okay, if they're widening a road, how could this be temporary? I'm not quite clear on why this would be a temporary construction easement when it involves widening a road. So those are my two questions.
All right, thank you. All right, if you'd like to respond, please.
Thank you, Mayor. To the first question, this is all church property, so it is not a farm building. It is a single-family residence and structure, but it was used by the church for one of their members of the church who stayed there on occasion. The house has been vacant since 2018. So that's the first question. And in terms of the right-of-way that's being purchased, so we're widening the road. That's the ultimate purchase of 11,000 square feet. The temporary construction easement allows us to go wider than that roadway so we can make sure the roadway matches the existing property. So we have to grade, put in improvements that are up to the right-of-way line. The temporary construction easement is onto the private property, but allows us to make the construction of those ultimate improvements. So that's what the temporary construction easement is for. So it's in addition to the right-of-way we are acquiring from the property that allow us to construct those improvements within the public right-of-way that we're purchasing.
All right, thank you. Any other public comments regarding this item? All right, Kevin.
So you're confirming that there is no existing farmland on this property at all? Okay, but nothing with a... I don't know, I just keep thinking that a farmhouse is being removed, but...
It is a house for the church.
Okay, all right.
You said it is a house for the church.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me. So, back to item 15. I have a resolution approving a purchase and sale agreement, grant deed, and certificate of acceptance with the Central California Conference Association of Seventh-day Adventist Church, a California nonprofit religious corporation, for partial acquisition of an 11,005 square foot portion of real property, all of the grantor's interest and rights in a 2,803 square foot portion of land in Hetch Hetchy right-of-way, 7,085 square feet for a temporary construction easement, and severance damages consisting of removal of a 1,370 square foot single-family residence located at 301 Claritina Avenue in the amount of $260,000 plus closing costs for the Hetch Hetchy and Claritina Avenue structural crossing point, and authorizing the city manager or his designee to execute the purchase and sale agreement, accept the grant deed, and sign the certificate of acceptance for the partial acquisition of real property, sign the grant of temporary construction easement agreement and the certificate of acceptance for the temporary construction easement, accept the quit claim deed, and sign the certificate of acceptance of the quit claim deed, and sign all related documents required to complete the sale and close escrow. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Scudia Brayton, second by Councilmember Wright, and will the clerk please call the roll for this item, consent item 15.
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Bavaro?
Aye.
Councilmember Williams?
Aye.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Scudia Brayton?
Aye.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Aye.
Mayor Zwollen?
Aye. Carries unanimously. Do any of the council members have any comments and reports? Councilmember Ricky.
Thanks, Mayor. We heard a lot of people tonight speaking about their rights and questioning city ordinances. And I think the good news here is that this council put a civilian police review board in place, and that's where issues like this should be reviewed and discussed. And in that spirit, the Community Police Review Board will be receiving a presentation from the Modesto Police Department on the protests on June 14th at their next meeting. The review board will also discuss the process of reviewing the current ordinance to analyze the concerns of the public. And I'm proud of Modesto for being willing to look at their own ordinances, rules, and processes that improve public safety in our city. And that's all I got, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Williams.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councilmember Ricky, for that statement. I wholeheartedly agree with you. Thank you.
All right. Councilmember Alvarez.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just going to address kind of the elephant in the room. So I want to begin by recognizing that speaking up against targeted discrimination or unjust policies takes courage. And I want to express genuine appreciation to those allies in the room tonight and in our community who have chosen to stand in solidarity with responsible immigrants and our Latino families, many of whom have no choice or voice in the systems that govern their lives. But I must also speak truthfully, not only as a council member, but as a Chicano whose family's history is rooted in the soil of this valley. My grandfather came to California through the Braceros program in the 1950s. He came here with calloused hands and quiet hopes, harvesting food for a community that often overlooked the people feeding it. My family, like so many in Modesto, has experienced discrimination, not as just an idea, but as a daily reality. That's why I cannot stay silent when I hear calls to action, even from those who claim allyship. I'll be honest, sometimes it feels ironic to hear white allies speaking out against targeted discrimination when we've lived with it for generations. That very reality was part of my motivation to run for public office, win, and represent my community. The community that raised my tias and tios and my siblings and my parents. We've seen policies and systems shift only when certain voices speak up, voices that are more likely to be heard. But I also know this, and solidarity is powerful when it's sincere. If we are able to tackle injustice, whether it shows up in a police encounter, an immigration raid, or the daily inequity of our black and brown families, we need to do so together, as was stated earlier. I agree with that sentiment from your organization. So I welcome your advocacy. I encourage you to stay with us, not just for this protest or this moment or when it's popular, or we can get clicks and engagement on your socials, but for the long road ahead. Stand with the young Latino and Latinas, the young African American who's told he or she doesn't belong, and know that when you do, your voice helps amplify generations of voices that came before you, many of whom were never even heard at all because of the color of their skin. In regard to the recent ICE operations and protest-related arrests here in the city of Modesto and across the Central Valley, which have heightened fear and division in our community, as local leaders, we are aware of the impact these actions have on families, workers, and the sense of safety in our communities and our neighborhoods. Immigrants, a little cliche, but immigrants are the backbone of Stanislaus County's economy. That's a fact. From our agricultural and food production to construction, healthcare, and service industries, over half of our Stanislaus County population is Latino, many of whom are immigrants, contributing every day to the well-being and vitality of Modesto and the surrounding areas. In District 2, which comprises the West Side, South Side, Airport, and downtown communities, 74% of residents are Hispanic. And of that 74%, 93% is of Mexican ethnicity. As it relates to the protests, I mean, hell, we even have, excuse my language, but we even have Escutia, Alvarez, Sanchez, Lopez sitting up here before you. I mean, the change is right before you. As it relates to the protests, we affirm the right to peaceful protest and civic expression. At least I do, my office does, and I would imagine my colleagues do as well. In regard to peaceful assembly in the city of Modesto, I stand with the community to prioritize transparency, discretion, and coordination with local leadership, us, to avoid unnecessary arrests and harms to families, employees and employers alike. And it's important to note, as elected leaders, we must, however, ensure, first and foremost, the safety of all of our residents as we consider any action to the current municipal code. Finally, I stand with our immigrant neighbors and call for policies that protect both public safety and human dignity. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Next is Councilmember Escutia Brayton.
Thank you, Mayor. I do feel compelled to say a few words in regards to what's currently happening in our community. Let me just begin by saying that I am very proud to be Latina. I'm the daughter of parents who worked the fields in the factory. And also my father came to the U.S. Working as a bracero. They sacrificed a tremendous amount. They sacrificed quite a bit to bring me and my siblings to the U.S. For the classic dream of the American immigrant dream. Yet another point of pride for me is being a public servant to our beautiful Modesto community, where this past weekend we came out in large numbers to peacefully demonstrate our freedom of expression. We heard today some very concerning incidents that did occur in June the 14th. These statements are not to be minimized nor by any means to be dismissed. However, in the midst of disagreement and uncertainty, I feel there's a space for all of us to come together in building our community and advocating for safety of our families and our communities. To this end, I believe that the Modesto Police Department engagement of the crowds at June the 14th's gathering was in this vein, in the vein of in keeping protesters, families, and communities all safe from situations that, if not addressed early, could easily have escalated. Maintaining law and order is not easy. It's not easy at all, and oftentimes it's obviously not perfect. But we must work together if we are to ensure that our community remains both just and safe. I strongly encourage everyone, not only today but moving forward, to act in the spirit of open dialogue, respectful expression, and constructive engagement. I believe a united community doesn't mean we all get along. That's just not reality. However, it does mean we all care about our community to work together towards a common solution. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from council members this evening? My brief comment will be that I'm encouraged by what happened this evening, that many people came to this council and expressed their views and their concerns. What I can say is that it was heard. Sometimes we're questioned about that, but we really do hear you and appreciate the time that you took this evening to come and express your views with us. I will myself take everything to heart. I do write a lot of notes. I appreciate many of you in other ways for being involved in the community. You're such advocates and feel so passionately about the things that are also important to us in the community. So I do appreciate your efforts and for the way things were handled this evening. It's greatly appreciated. As was mentioned, working together to continue to work together will be really important going forward. I feel like Modesto is that community where we're able to do that with even opposing views. That we can have those discussions, and I'm proud of our community for that. So I didn't prepare any written comments. I just planned to see how this evening went, and those are my feelings now. So thank you for listening. All right, does the city manager have any comments and reports? All right, thank you. Next on the agenda is hearings. Item 27, a hearing to consider approving fiscal year 2025 diagram. Item 27, a hearing to consider approving fiscal year 2025-26 diagram, an annual assessment and ordering the levy and collection of charges within Landscape Maintenance Assessment District Number 1 for Dry Creek Meadows subdivisions numbers 1 through 6.
Thanks, Mayor and City Council. Jessica Hill, Director of Community and Economic Development, and I'm going to be doing a presentation for items 27, 28, and 29. So for a little bit of background, is the Landscape and Lighting Act of 1972 requires the city to do the following actions to assess the annual levy for LMADs and lighting and landscape districts each year. So in February of this year, Council directed staff to prepare the annual engineer's report, and in May of this year, Council adopted the resolutions approving the annual engineer's reports and a resolution of intention to set and collect the levies for the public hearing tonight. So a little bit of background regarding the Landscape Maintenance Assessment Districts. So above is Landscape Maintenance Assessment District 1. The proposed assessment for 25-26 is $19,474, and the use of these funds go to the maintenance of landscaping of the public right-of-way and street medians adjacent to the access control walls. There's 749 residential parcels, and the levy is $26 per parcel. Landscape Maintenance Assessment District 2 is directly south of Landscape Maintenance Assessment District 1. We're proposing the assessment for this year to be $34,202.90. And again, this helps with the maintenance of the landscaping and the public right-of-ways of this general area. There's currently an escalator for this LMAD that's not an LMAD 1, but it is an LMAD 2. But there's no change to the escalator for this next year. There's 590 residential parcels, and so the levy itself will be $50.16 per residential parcels, and then for the 18 commercial parcels, it'll be $254.92. Last up is the Shackleford Lighting and Landscape District. And so the proposal for this year is to levy the district at $17,792.20. And that is for the maintenance and utility bills for the 77 200-watt high-pressure sodium streetlights. So this levy this year is divided by the 487 residential parcels, and it is $36.53 per parcel. And each year this levy is actually calculated based on the actual needs of the district itself. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you for your report. Does council have any questions of staff regarding item 27? David Wright.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Jessica, for your report. When we talk about maintenance, I know maintenance means going and making sure the weeds are picked up, trees are trimmed, the bushes are trimmed, whatever. Does it include also replacement of items that might die, bushes or trees? Is that part of the scope of our maintenance crew that we hire to go out to maintain our facilities?
Yes, that would be a qualifiable expense. I think what we struggle with in these two districts is the amount that we're able to levy to cover the actual needs of those areas.
So, but I hope there's a process that even though there's quite a bit that needs to be replanted, that they start doing a little at a time. So over a 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 year period, that landscaping gets back to looking nice throughout the areas without any bare spots.
Absolutely, we work directly with them.
I know that there's a problem in Village 1 that I've been trying to get a hold of Grover. They're not returning my emails. But I'm really concerned about our contracts with our maintenance companies to making sure they do the job that we contract them with. So I hope that down the road that we really put more emphasis on these contractors to make sure they keep up on our landscaping to replace items that do die. Thank you.
All right, any other questions from council regarding item 27? Seeing none, I'll now open the public hearing. Are there any members of the public that would like to come forward regarding item 27? Seeing none, I will close public comments. Any comments from council members regarding this item? All right. I have a resolution ordering the levy and collection of such charges as shown within the engineer's annual report within the City of Modesto Landscape Maintenance Assessment District Number 1 for the Dry Creek Meadows subdivisions numbers 1 through 6 for fiscal year 2025-26. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Vice Mayor Bavaro.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Wright. Will the clerk please call the roll for this item?
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Bavaro?
Aye.
Councilmember Williams?
Aye.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Escutia Brayton?
Aye.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Aye.
Mayor Zwollen?
Aye. It carries unanimously. Item 28 is a hearing to consider approving fiscal year 2025 diagram and annual assessment and ordering the levy and collection of charges within Landscape Maintenance Assessment District Number 2 for Dry Creek Meadows subdivisions numbers 7 through 10, Creekwood Meadows subdivision, and Yosemite Meadows subdivisions unit 1 and 2. We had a combination staff report. Are there any questions from the council regarding this item? Seeing none, I will now open the public hearing. Any members of the public that would like to come forward regarding item 28? Seeing none, I will close public comments. Are there any comments from council members regarding this item? Seeing none, I have a resolution ordering the levy and collection of such charges as shown within the engineer's annual report within the City of Modesto Landscape Maintenance Assessment District Number 2 for Dry Creek Meadows subdivisions numbers 7 through 10, Creekwood Meadows subdivision, and Yosemite Meadows subdivision units 1 and 2 for fiscal year 2025-26. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilmember Williams.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Alvarez. Will the clerk please call the roll for this item?
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Bavaro?
Aye.
Councilmember Williams?
Aye.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Escutia Brayton?
Aye.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Aye.
Mayor Zwollen?
Aye. Carries unanimously. Item 29 is a hearing to consider approving fiscal year 2025-26 diagram and annual assessment and ordering the levy and collection of charges within Shackleford Landscape and Lighting District. Does council have any questions regarding that item? Seeing none, I will now open the public hearing. Any members of the public to come forward under item 29? Seeing that, I will close public comments and ask council for comments. I have a resolution ordering the levy and collection of such charges as shown within the engineer's annual report within the City of Modesto, Shackelford Landscape and Lighting District for fiscal year 2025-26. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Wright.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Ricky. And will the clerk please call the roll for this item?
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Bavaro?
Aye.
Councilmember Williams?
Aye.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Escutia Brayton?
Aye.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Aye.
Mayor Zawalin?
Aye. Carries unanimously. Item 30, a hearing to consider approving the 2025-2030 consolidated plan, accepting HUD program funds awarded through the program year 2025-2026 annual action plan, and approving the citizens participation plan as required by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Department. And we will have a staff report by Jessica Hill.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. So for a little bit of background, every 5 years, HUD, our federal funder, requires each jurisdiction to complete a 5-year plan called our consolidated plan. This consolidated plan serves as a roadmap identifying strategies on how we use our funding sources directly from HUD, and they include the Community Development Block Grants, Home Investment Partnership Program funds, and our Emergency Solutions grants. So in order to complete this 5-year plan, we actually engaged in a consultant in April of 2024. We engaged with Lisa Lassar. And the consolidated plan contains several sections that help inform these plan strategies. It goes over the process, the needs assessment, a market analysis, and then the strategic plan. And so we worked directly with Lassar to take the lead on the needs assessment and market analysis, and they also helped us assist with key data requirements and local stakeholder feedback. So as part of our focused outreach, we had extensive community engagement. And they included 4 focus groups, which had over 80 stakeholders in attendance. We held 7 different community workshops across the districts. And then we also had a community survey, which we had 545 responses. And from this extensive outreach, we identified 4 or 5 different consolidated plan goals. And so one was to increase the supply of affordable housing, address and prevent homelessness, increase access to jobs, education, economic development, and other services, as well as enhance infrastructure and public facilities, and then lastly, administration. So as part of our feedback from the community, if it wants to work, Scotty, I may need help with that. There we go. Some of the survey results for affordable housing, 91% wanted to ensure there was affordable housing options for seniors. 78% said construction of new affordable housing units. As we look at results for addressing homelessness, 85% felt that access to homeless shelters were very or extremely important, as well as 86% said homeless prevention and outreach as well. So in addition to our consolidated plan, what we also do is create our annual action plan. And this annual action plan outlines really our goals for the following fiscal year. And so with a little bit of our overview, we did receive our HUD allocations for this next year. We're anticipating $1.8 million in CDBG, $800,000 in home funding, and $157,000 in ESG funding. So with that, we do have some projects in the pipeline to actually be funded by the funding that we are anticipating this next year. One of those is a partnership with the Parks Department in the Martin Luther King Jr. Park, where we're assisting with the pre-design for the splash pad itself within that park. Another one is home funds to assist with the development of 7th Street Village. The city contribution was $7 million. We were able to leverage $59 million to build 79 units of mixed-use housing of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units in our downtown. Another one is CDBG funding, which we're anticipating to be able to use for a motel conversion with El Capitan. So this is a partnership with Upholdings, and it would be contingent on the state funding award. So the city leverage funding, or the city's contribution, would be $3 million, which a potential leverage of $19 million. And this is to convert 48 units to permanent supportive housing to help those with behavioral health units, and as well as veterans. And last up in our action tonight is to review our citizen participation plan. So HUD requires extensive community outreach as we choose to allocate these funds every year and then complete our 5-year plan. With that, we have to outline, how we're going to do outreach in our community and when we do outreach in our community. And so this plan itself has to be updated every 5 years as well. So the significant change that we're requesting this year within our citizens participation plan is every year when we actually change our plan more than 20%, we go back out to the community and do an amendment. And so in this year, we're asking to change that threshold from 20 to 25%. And so if those funding amounts do change over the year, we do a substantial amendment and then have that significant community outreach. Following approval of this item, staff will be incorporating any comments and submitting the consolidated plan, our annual action plan, or our citizen participation plan to HUD by July 13th, 2025. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for your presentation. Does council have any questions of staff? Councilmember Scudia-Brayton.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, Jessica, for the presentation. When the plan is submitted and reviewed, what kind of response is typical? Is there a report of findings? Is there a summary or some type of conclusion? Is there approval, or what is a typical response back?
Yeah, so we usually anticipate a response within 60 to 90 days, and they request if they need any additional information, or if not, they approve that and then they say that we're now can draw down funds for the following year. And so it gives us the ability that once the plan's approved, we can draw down that about $3 million that were allocated for this next year.
So the approval, the construction and approval of this plan is required to access the funding necessary to do the work?
Correct.
I see. Thank you very much.
Right, any other questions from council members? Seeing none, I'll now open the public hearing. Are there any members of the public that would like to come forward regarding item 30? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Any comments from council members regarding this item? All right, I have two resolutions and we can vote at the same time on them. A resolution approving the 2025-2030 consolidated plan, accepting HUD program funds awarded through the program year 2025-2026 annual action plan as required by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Department, and authorizing the city manager or his designee to negotiate and execute any related program agreements, contracts, or other documentation required for implementation of the 2025-2030 consolidated plan and program year 2025-2026 annual action plan, and authorization to submit applicable documentation and provide technical alterations as required by HUD. Incorporate comments received prior to the close of the public comment period, and to make the necessary step to implement the provisions of this resolution. Second resolution, amending the Section 1 Policy Citizen Participation Plan for HUD, programs of the Housing and Urban Development Policies and Procedures Manual as required by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Department. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Escudia-Brayton, second by Councilmember Ricky. And will the clerk please call the roll for this? What?
It was Williams and Alvarez.
Oh, I thought it was one from there, and it sounded like Ricky here. So it was a motion by Councilmember Escudia-Brayton, second by Councilmember Alvarez. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Bavaro?
Aye.
Councilmember Williams?
Aye.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Escudia-Brayton?
Aye.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Aye.
Mayor Zwallen?
Aye. Carries unanimously. Next is item 31. A hearing to consider approving an amendment to the Modesto Urban Area General Plan to change the land use of approximately 70 acres from business park to residential, approving the Founders Point East specific plan for the development of 220 acres located northeast of the Pellendale Avenue and Tully Road intersections approving the filing of an application to the Stanislaus County Local Agency Formation Commission for the Founders Point East reorganization to the City of Modesto, approving an ordinance amending Section 5-3-9 of the zoning map of the City of Modesto to pre-zone the Founders Point East specific plan to the specific plan zone, and adopting a mitigated negative declaration for these actions. We will have a staff report from Jessica Hill.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. So a little bit of background. The staff received an application from Fitzpatrick Land Development on April 11, 2024 to complete the following items. An annexation, a new specific plan called Founders Point East, a pre-zone to the specific plan, as well as a general plan amendment. And so as we received these items, staff worked directly with the developer to include the 70 acres that were proposed, but also to include and annex the 150 acres directly to the north. And so the area in consideration today is bounded by Tully, Pellendale, Kiernan, and the Virginia corridor. So again, the annexation is about 220 acres. It will include right-of-way of streets of Kiernan and Tully Road, as well as the future Virginia corridor. And then the areas that you can see directly adjacent to the left, Pellendale Avenue and Tully Road south of Banks Avenue are already within the city incorporated area. So as part of the annexation, the staff has to do a lot of analysis to ensure that we meet the requirements of the annexation itself. So as part of the project, the applicant proposes annexation of the properties within the specific plan in accordance to the Corsi-Knox-Hertzberg Local Reorganization Act of 2000. And so this is all under those requirements. So the annexation area itself is considered uninhibited, which is defined by Government Code Section 506079, which is fewer than the 12 registered voters. The properties to be annexed are within Stanislaus County, which are contiguous to the city limits and are within the sphere of influence of the City of Modesto. The area itself was already subject to the Measure M vote in November of 1997, and therefore we can grow into that area. And then also there are 4 Williamson Act contracts on 5 parcels that were each protested and upheld by LAFCO, and therefore upon annexation, the city will not continue those contracts. So as part of the annexation itself, it was also referred to all city departments, outside agencies, and local tribal authorities to review and comment. We confirmed that sewer service is available with existing lines under Tully and Banks Avenue and would annex into the Sewer District 1. And then the annexation would also remain in the territory of the Salida Fire Protection District. So the Salida Fire, there would be services by both the Salida Fire District as well as City of Modesto Fire, which is outlined within our 2022 agreement with Salida Fire District. As the next part of this action, so for all of our general plan policies, it identifies different comprehensive planning districts. And each comprehensive planning district must provide a comprehensive specific plan prior to development. The specific plans cover the surrounding development of their, they do an overview of what the land use will be, the traffic circulation, infrastructure, and development standards. So for the specific plan area, it's the westerly half of our overall comprehensive CPD, which is called Kiernan-McHenry. The proposed developments, you can see sub-area A is 70 acres. We're proposing new low-density residential units, or approximately 420 single-family homes. Be very similar scope directly to the east of Woodglen, which has already been partially developed. The northern area, sub-area B, is a business park area, and then all 220 acres are currently within our sphere of influence. So for more information on sub-area B, it would allow for development uses of commercial industrial, and light industrial uses in our zoning code, which allows for professional and medical office, ancillary retail and service uses, and as well as hospital, clinics, and convalescent rehabilitation centers. Development along with internal streets and utility connections would be provided as developments proposed and constructed within our city codes and standards. As part of the annexation procedures itself, we also pre-zone the area as it moves forward to annexation. And so the specific plan zone would be established as a pre-zone within the county unincorporated area, which allows for the uses I talked about previously. So the CM use or M1 and M2 uses. It would also pre-zone the southerly 70 acres to residential, And then the specific plan zone itself would become effective once the annexation is approved by LAFCO. The last item is also the general plan amendment. So you can see the area which is outlined in a black dotted line is that the annexation area. Currently in our general plan, it is all zoned for business parks, so they're in purple. And so what we're proposing today is actually having this, again, northern 150 acres still be the business park under the general plan, but the southerly 70 acres would be the low density residential. So we did complete an initial study and a mitigated negative declaration environmental assessment that has been proposed on the project, which found that the project, there's no significant effect of the project on the environment, and so that has been reviewed by staff and our consultant. We did take it to our Planning Commission on May 5th. The Planning Commission voted to approve it 5-1. And I do want to mention that following the committee recommendation, and after it was passed by the Planning Commission, during the appeal period, we did receive an appeal from the Salida Fire District. Staff continued to work with them during this period of time, and they asked for additional language to be added to the CEQA document or the mitigated negative declaration. And so the following language was added, and it states, as a condition of approval, the project will be required to enter it into the district's community facilities district and pay all applicable taxes. Those taxes will mitigate the described project's impact on the fire and emergency response services that are funded by the district. Again, this has been added to the document and included as an attachment in tonight's item. So with that, we do have many staff recommendations, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you for your report. Does council have any questions of staff? Jeremiah Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. So as far as LAFCO, what's their timeline when something like this is presented to them?
LAFCO does range about 3 to 6 months, but with that is the developer themselves actually cannot submit their application to LAFCO until they have the resolution from the city that is recommending it can go to LAFCO for annexation.
And then once that, then 3 to
Correct.
6 months?
Yep.
That's not bad. And you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Ricky.
Thanks, Mayor. Do these new single-family homes, do they qualify under our new R1 definitions?
Yes, it would. Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Councilmember Scudia Brayton.
Thank you, Mayor. And in regards, adding to that question that Councilmember Ricky just asked, and are they accounted for in our numbers that support the RENA numbers?
So currently they're not counted as potential RENA's numbers that we anticipated, but they'll get to add to those numbers to meet our 11,248 obligation.
Nice. In terms of revenue, any potential revenue brought on by this annexation, if approved, will it, I would imagine it would not exceed the cost of maintenance or the city, it wouldn't burden the city for any services required of that space, would it?
Correct. And so once the actual development were to move forward, we would also form a community facilities district to make sure we had that ongoing maintenance funding to assist with all of the landscape maintenance that needed to occur in the future.
Wonderful. And I would imagine the process consisted of EIR or an environmental study, and there's no concerns in that regard?
Correct.
Beautiful. Thank you. No more questions.
All right, thank you. Vice Mayor Bavaro.
Thank you.
Sorry.
What would be the size of the park in this area? How many acres?
So the standard size of a park would, per general plan, is 7-acre park. However, we've been able to look at and accommodate a 3.5-acre park, and adjacent to it in Wood Glen, we've been able to accommodate a 3.5-acre park in that area.
And will these be HOA housing?
We do have the developer here who can speak more to that. At this point, I'm not aware.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions from council members regarding this item?
I actually do have a quick question.
All right, sure. Go right ahead.
This would be in what district? District 5?
Yeah.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yay.
All right. Any other questions? Order in the meeting, please. Any other questions from council members? Seeing none, I'll now open the public hearing. Any members of the public that would like to come forward regarding item 31?
Yes. So I would like to know, I want to make sure I understand this. So you are annexing land that now is within the county, that is not within the city limits. So now it's going to become part of the city limits. Am I correct on that so far?
Jessica will respond to every question. Do you have others?
Okay. Also, I want to know how much will this add to the population of Modesto? And is that going to provide a burden to the bus service, the public transportation? Are we going to have to add buses to the line and the bus line, the bus transportation line? Also, are we going to have to build more schools? She also mentioned something about a hospital. She very briefly mentioned something about a hospital. Are you envisioning that we're going to have to build another hospital as a result of this as well? So I'm looking at the long-term implications of this. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Would you like to respond, please, Jessica? Thank you.
Thanks for your questions. And so the action today would be allowing it to be from the city sphere of influence and move into the city limits. We are anticipating that this would then result in an additional 420 homes. And so that would be the increase in potential population, or people would be moving into these new homes that already resided within Modesto. As these new homes would move forward with their tentative map portion, that's when it's going to be referred out to all of our entities. And so we'll be able to assess that we have all the needed infrastructure and services for bus, the streets, as well as the schools. We've already had preliminary conversations with the school districts. They are aware that this is coming, and they will be able to accommodate those extra homes as well. In regards to the hospital question, that was just one of the eligible uses that was under the base zoning of the business park area, or that 150 acres. So it's able to put a light industrial, a commercial industrial, or a heavy industrial in those areas, and that was an eligible use. So we don't anticipate at this point that there'll be a hospital, but if someone would come in and would want to build one, it would be allowed to be built there.
All right. Thank you very much for your responses. Any other members of the public? Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Dave Romano on behalf of Fitzpatrick Land Development and Florsheim Homes. It's just a pleasure to be here. We've really appreciated working with your staff on this project. We brought this 70-acre project because really everything south of Bangs, from Fleur de Ville all the way over to the rail trail, it really needs to be residential. It's south of your North Trunk sewer line, and this made a lot of sense. Staff asked that we participate with them to bring in 150 acres of business park. Took us a little longer to get there, but we think it was worthwhile. And for the council members who are concerned about landscaping, we'll landscape outside of the wall. We'll continue to make Pellendale more attractive. We'll put that in, some in District 5, some in District 1. We're going to start making Pellendale look better. We're excited about this project moving forward. So it comes to you with a recommendation for approval from the Planning Commission, from your staff. We ask for your approval.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any other members of the public that would like to speak regarding item 31?
Hey, thank you, Council. I am not by any means an expert on any of this stuff, so forgive me for my ignorance on some of this, but I do have a couple points and a couple of questions maybe for Jessica as well, just to clear up. But I've been to a number of planning meetings, like during the general plan process with other members of the community, where we sit at the tables and we write things on the sticky notes and put them on the maps and things like that. And also just being a lifelong resident of Modesto, people regularly express, and in those planning meetings, like the vast majority of people don't want to see any more outward growth. They want to see growth going up. And this isn't on the fault of the developer. They're building based on what it's zoned. But I've been trying to figure out in the years that I've gone to these planning meetings, where there's a disconnect between what the community is voicing in the meetings and then what actually happens, because you turn around, there's another housing development going in, or there's another shopping center going in. And it's clear to me that it seems like what happens is that somewhere in the process of the Planning Commission and LAFCO hearings, which are technically open to the public, but that's really only beneficial if the public actually knows about them and shows up to them. That's where these decisions are happening, where we're seeing more and more of our farmland, which is prime farmland, being taken up for more and more outward development. I also heard the pattern of North American cities, the patterns by which we grow is single-use zoning, low-density residential, has been described as a Ponzi scheme, where you're building outward in order to generate tax revenue to keep funding city services, but you're also extending the city services and your obligation to continue to maintain and provide police service and things like that, which means that in order to fund that maintenance and those services, you need to build even further out. And so I've heard a lot of people in the community, just through my own conversations with people and also at these planning meetings, that people want to see upward growth and mixed-use development, which is more conducive to public transit. When you have that density and people want to see public transit, it also provides a lot more housing on much smaller footprint, and it protects our ag land and our open spaces as well. So I just want to put that out to you all. And now if I have time, just a couple of things on here. Maybe that will be mitigated by the community benefits district that was mentioned. But also under the environmental concerns, it says that found that the project will have potentially significant effect on the environment, but I wasn't sure how that's mitigated by whatever is agreed to by the project proponent. And then my other question was regarding, is this housing going to be accessible or affordable to people in order to make a dent in our housing shortage locally? So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so in our environmental review, when we had our consultant complete it, they identified different areas of different conditions that the project would have to meet in order to ensure that the project didn't have any negative effect. And so we met with the developer themselves, who went over those things, and those conditions were added to the CEQA document that's actually attached in our agenda report today. So some of those things is hoping to mitigate any noise, hoping to mitigate any traffic, which different sorts of items that they would have to actually complete. I do anticipate it's going to be a market rate development, and that will be determined at, when the units are built and what that sales price would be.
All right, thank you very much. Any other comments from the public regarding item 31? All right, so I did open the public hearing, correct? Mm-hmm. All right. All right, seeing that at this time, I will close public comments. And any comments from council members? Seeing none at this time, there are 5 resolutions that have to be voted on individually. And I will start out with this one. A resolution adopting a mitigated negative declaration for the general plan amendment, Founders Point specific plan, pre-zone and application for the reorganization of Founders Point East specific plan to the City of Modesto as amended. And I would ask for our city attorney to explain that.
Absolutely. The as amended is as Jessica presented in the presentation. The amendment was at the request of Salida Fire District related to the fire CFD and the clarifications that were added into the document itself.
All right, thank you. Do I have a motion for that resolution?
So moved.
Moved by Vice Mayor Bavaro, second by Councilmember Wright. Will the clerk please call the roll for this resolution?
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Bavaro?
Aye.
Councilmember Williams?
Aye.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Escutia-Brayton?
Aye.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Aye.
Mayor Zwallen?
Aye. Carries unanimously. I have a resolution approving an amendment to the land use element of the Modesto Urban Area General Plan to change the land use of approximately 70 acres from business park uses to residential uses, Fitzpatrick land development. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Wright.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Ricky. And will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Bavaro?
Aye.
Councilmember Williams?
Aye.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Escutia-Brayton?
Aye.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Aye.
Mayor Wallen?
Aye. Carries unanimously. A resolution approving the Founder's Point East specific plan for the development of approximately 220 acres located north of Pellendale Avenue, south of Kernan Avenue, east of Tully Road, and west of the former Tidewater Railroad future Virginia Trail corridor. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Williams, second by Councilmember Ricky, and will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Bavaro?
Aye.
Councilmember Williams?
Aye.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Escutia-Brayton?
Aye.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Aye.
Mayor Wallen?
Aye. Carries unanimously. Next, a resolution approving the filing of an application to the Stanislaus County Local Agency Formation Commission for the reorganization of approximately 220 acres located north of Pellendale Avenue, south of Kernan Avenue, east of Tully Road, and west of the former Tidewater Railroad future Virginia Trail corridor, including rights-of-way on Pellendale Avenue, Kernan Avenue, and Tully Road for annexation to the City of Modesto. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Williams, second by Councilmember Alvarez. Will the clerk please call the roll for this item?
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Bavaro?
Aye.
Councilmember Williams?
Aye.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Escutia-Brayton?
Aye.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Aye.
Mayor Wallen?
Aye. Carries unanimously. Last, a motion, and on that last one, I'll add that it's to the annexation to the City of Modesto, and it mentions owner-initiated uninhabited. Last motion, introducing and waiving the first reading of an ordinance amending section 5-3-9 of the zoning map of the City of Modesto to pre-zone to specific plan zone for the Founder's Point East specific plan, approximately 220 acres located north of Pellendale Avenue, south of Kernan Avenue, east of Tully Road, and west of the former Tidewater Railroad future Virginia Trail corridor. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Wright, second
Second.
by Vice Mayor Bavaro. And will the clerk please call the roll for this item?
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Bavaro?
Aye.
Councilmember Williams?
Aye.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Escutia-Brayton?
Aye.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Aye.
Mayor Wallen?
Aye. Carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Item 32, a hearing to consider approving a precise plan amendment to precise plan number 35 South to amend the circulation plan. And we will have a staff report by Jessica Hill.
Great, thank you, Mayor, City Council. So a little bit of background. I know you guys are familiar with this project. It is called The Crossings. It's on the corner of Briggsmore and Claus. However, on December 20th, 2024, D.R. Horton wanted to submit an application to amend the development of the 527 homes. And that amendment is association with the internal circulation as well as the renderings of the potential, or the architectural elevations of the potential homes. So for the precise plan amendment, they are requesting to modify several streets to from having a previous 60-foot right-of-way to a 48-foot right-of-way. The applicant stated that there's a number of benefits in these proposals, which the staff agrees with, which would be reduced costs to the CFD, reduced street and landscape maintenance costs, and more on-street parking throughout the community. So here's an example of the 60-foot right-of-way on all of the streets, and they are looking to change all of those streets from 60 feet to 48 feet that are outlined in blue. So as part of the referral process, we referred all of the proposed changes to our internal departments and worked very closely with our engineering department for revisions of the circulation plan. And again, all staff agrees are in support of this change. For the final development plan amendment and the architectural elevations, they are looking to change it to these elevations above. These are small shifts on what were originally proposed, and this does align with the overall specific plan and requirements for the development standards. So an environmental was done, and we were able to determine that a notice of exemption would be available for this development itself, and so it was reached by section 15162 analysis. This item was brought forward on April 21st to our Planning Commission and was approved by the Planning Commission by a 7-0 vote. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much for your report. Any questions of staff regarding item 32 from council? Councilmember Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. Jessica, on the final development plan amendment, was there another, the beginning of the actual rendering, or is this?
I don't have the before pictures, I just have the after. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Vice Mayor Bavaro.
Thank you, Mayor. This was approved by the Planning Commission April 21st, some
Correct.
60 days. Is that a normal time before it comes to our council?
Yeah, so traditionally, we have to ensure that it completes the noticing requirements after approval as well. And so it's usually that amount of time that it takes.
Thank you.
All right. I will now open the public hearing. Any members of the public that would like to come forward regarding this item? Welcome.
Okay, Mayor and City Council, thank you for hearing our item tonight. My name is Avery Jones. I am the Entitlements Project Manager for DR Horton. As Jessica stated, we are asking for this amendment to our circulation plan because it will increase on-street parking. It will reduce overall CFD costs for the future residents. It will reduce city maintenance for ongoing life of the project. It will also increase front yard space. So in changing the street widths from a 60-foot right-of-way to a 48-foot right-of-way, future individual lots will take on that space. So front yard space will increase. And then in doing this, we are also maintaining connectivity between the bike paths, sidewalks, and paseos that exist in the project today. We ask for approval in order to enhance the overall livability of this future neighborhood, and I'm here to answer any questions if you should have any.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilmember Williams?
Yes, quick question. There's always been 527, right? That number's never changed?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much for your comments. Any other members of the public that would like to speak? Thank you. Appreciate you for this item. Seeing none, I will close public comments. Any comments from council members? I have a motion introducing and waiving the first reading of an ordinance amending precise plan number 35 South of the Village 1 specific plan to modify the circulation plan and adopting the 15162 analysis and CEQA exemption. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Councilmember Wright, second by Councilmember Ricky. Will the clerk please call the roll for this item?
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Bavaro?
Aye.
Councilmember Williams?
Aye.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Escudia Brayton?
Aye.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Aye.
Mayor Zwollen?
Aye. Carries unanimously. Thank you. Next on the agenda is new business. Item 33. Consider approving the plans and specifications for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Park renovation project, accepting the bid and awarding a construction contract to Harris Builders Incorporated of Hillmar, California, for a total amount not to exceed $11,875,792. Consider approving an agreement with TRC Engineering Incorporated of Lathrop, California, for construction management and inspection services for a total amount not to exceed $1,042,319. And consider approving a first amendment to the agreement with Calendar Associates Landscape Architecture Incorporated of Gold River, California, increasing the agreement by $20,000. And we will have a staff report. Toby Wells, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. Long night. I hope to close this out with a very exciting project. We are excited to bring this before you this evening for the consideration of the award of a project that's been in the works for some years now. So a little background we'll start with. May of 2023, after some significant public outreach of what was needed to help this community and this park, a design contract was awarded to Calendar and Associates to complete the design of these improvements. Project includes a number of items, namely the gym and multipurpose building, fitness stations, splash pad, improvements to the landscaping, improvements to playing courts, playing fields in the area, and general park amenities, something the community was strongly in support of. In addition, as read the resolutions, the last bullet there is the addition of $20,000 to the calendar contract to be able to provide support during the construction of the project. So the project was put out, the design was completed at the end of the year of last year and then put out to bid in February of this year. We received the bids on April 15th. We got 3 bids. Harris Builders was identified as the lowest responsive and responsible bidder for a bid of $10.9 million, which is indicated 13.3% below the engineer's estimate. Per city standards, we do recommend an 8% contingency to deal with any unforeseen circumstances during the construction. So that amount of $879,000. And if awarded this evening, we expect construction to start in September, and pending weather and considerations over the course of the next 15 months, 15 to 18 months will be completed, hopefully prior to spring of 2027. As mentioned in the resolution, one of the other aspects, the size of this project and the number of other projects we have going on within the city is recommended to use outside services for construction management and inspection. So we did an RFP in March, and we received those proposals. The 2 proposals, TRC Engineering is recommended as the most qualified firm to provide the services. It's approximately 10% of that construction amount for a contract of $947,000 and a 10% contingency, again, to deal with any unforeseen circumstances that may arise during construction. Obviously, a project of this nature and complexity will have some impacts. We have continued to work with the King Kennedy Memorial Center and the West Modesto Community Collaborative to assist finding alternatives for the impact to their operations during the construction. And once the contract is awarded and we have detailed schedules, we will continue to coordinate closely with them to minimize the impacts as best we can. But again, a project of this nature will have some dust and noise impacts in the neighborhood, and we will do everything we can to minimize those and keep the public apprised of the activities as the project moves forward. Here's an illustration just showing the kind of the area and highlighting some of the improvements that will be made to the park. Picture of the gymnasium multipurpose room, the aesthetics that go with it, and then a view from the inside, the artist rendering of that activity. And here's the cost. So as you see, with the construction cost, the contingency, construction management, city design support, and city oversight for a total project cost of just a little over $14 million. And the funding sources, we have a statewide grant. In addition, we have the CDBG, it was mentioned earlier in Jessica's presentation, and then Measure H. And you'll notice $16.7 million is more than, the funding sources are more than the cost. Those additional funds are the Measure H component. We budgeted based on what our engineer's estimate was, so additional action will be taken at a future council meeting to reallocate those Measure H funds to other projects via separate action. And so the recommended action, as read by the mayor, was the award of the contract to Harris Builders, the award of a contract to TRC Engineering, and lastly, the amendment for Calendar Associates for $20,000 to provide support during the construction. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions from council members? Jeremiah Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. Toby, this is great and a long time coming. I'm excited to see it come to fruition eventually. Will there be security patrolling? Is in that bid, will there be security? Because I know some of the buildings are occupied and won't be occupied, and so we don't want anybody coming in there.
Yeah, so during the construction, the contractor is responsible to secure his site. So we don't dictate their means and methods, I mean how they do their work, but they will have secure building site, a secure construction site during, and how they do that is somewhat up to them. But we do work very closely with them to ensure security of the site.
And then one last question. Will there be any effects to the Helen Trail? Will that still be open?
It still will be open. There may be some activities and impacts to it, but they wouldn't be significant.
Okay, well, kids can still go to
So
school.
it's just to be activity to
crisscross.
get to it.
Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Alvarez.
Thank you, Mayor. Toby, are there any plans to upgrade or relocate any underground utilities around the area or on the park?
So in the park, those utilities will be improved. In the surrounding area, not a part of this project.
Okay. And then I would imagine ADA compliance has been fully integrated into all the aspects of this new park?
Yeah, that's why we use a landscape architect of that nature to ensure that anything new construction meets all the current standards.
Okay, and then lastly, has there been any bilingual, or is there any bilingual signage or outreach for non-English residents during this construction phase? Or
Generally,
will
we
there
do that in any of the outreaches in both languages.
Okay. All right, thank you, Toby.
You're welcome.
All right, Councilmember Escudia-Brayton.
Thanks, Toby, for that report. And this project is really, really exciting, as what it's indicated, long in the making. You referenced the community being informed every step of the way. Can you elaborate more on what that will look like?
Yeah, so there's several different mechanisms. Obviously, we've been working very closely with Sonia and her team on the communication side, so social media posts, and really trying to grow that presence. And then, working obviously with our partners there, with the West Modesto Community Collaborative, utilizing their services as well. Those are all things that will happen during construction. So it's a combination of things, but mostly what we found during these kind of constructions is that social media is really helpful in getting the information out.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor Bavaro.
Thank you, Mayor. Was your department able to determine how they came in 13.31% below engineering estimate?
So every bid we receive, we do a detailed analysis of all the bids. So in this case, there was 3 bids, and what we do is was referred to as a bid tabulation. So we review every bid item and go through where our engineer's estimate was higher than what the bidder in this case was coming in lower, which is we really like. As the engineers, we don't like to be the low bidder as the engineer's estimate and everything comes in above. So in this case, what we determined, probably the biggest difference was really the structure. The estimate was on the building was much higher than what we had anticipated. A lot of that really comes down to what we're seeing in the marketplace, that it looks like we're somewhat at a peak and starting to drop the other direction, where inflation was really driving the cost of a lot of construction projects, and it feels like with most recent bids, it seems to be trending in the other direction. So a lot of what we do on the estimating side is we're using past bids to determine what those future bids would look like, and we're not always able to pick where a peak of a market is. So in this case, we believe it was really tied to those building costs is what drove that difference.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mayor?
Yes, I've got your name right here, Councilmember Williams.
Thank you. Toby, can you tell me, with the current tenant, is the contractor going to be working with them to relocate, or is it going to be the city, or how is that going to work? And then how soon do they have to relocate and that kind of information?
Yeah, so with any action this evening approving the contract, then we got a number of things to get put in place before we're able to coordinate with the contractor. So it would be a group effort coordinated between the city, the contractor, and the group.
Thank you.
All right, I do not see any other questions from council members. I'll now open to the public for the public hearing. Any members of the public that would like to come forward to speak on this item? Thank you for staying with us this evening.
Good evening, members of the City Council, Madam Mayor. Yes, we're really looking forward to be able to work with the contractor as it relates to how we can continue to have some access to that building. As you know, we are a nonprofit organization, and in order to fulfill the needs of our funders, we have to be able to show we have a physical home. And not having that physical home will jeopardize the organization as it is. As you know, we've been in there, the collaborative has been in that building for many years. Jeremiah Williams will know that as a fact. And we feel that by us having a presence there, that will at least give us some stability with our funders. And I'm really looking forward to this. This is a long time coming. We knew the building was we knew the construction was coming. We negotiated and talked about this construction, asking how we were going to be able to have access, and we were told during that process, and Nathan was there as well as others, and that we would have some access to that building during construction. So we're going based on that kind of interaction that we had in the past. And then we don't want to, hopefully the rules won't change on us, and then we're going to have some issues for ourselves. But I just think that what we're seeing is a generation of that park and that community. The community wanted a building that really truly reflected something different. They wanted, and as you could see, that building was put together by the ideas of the community meeting with the designer, the layout of the park. And this is what the community got. And so what I told the community now, once this building comes up, it's your building, you have to take care of it. There's a lot of glass. So we need to be able to take care of that building. And I think that's a gem in itself for that community. That's the only new thing in my 6 years that I've seen invested in the community is that building. Nothing else has come into that community in the past. So we're all looking forward to that. And I hope that once you see that building in real life, we can all be proud that this is something we found that for a community that's been underserved for many years. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other members of the public that would like to speak regarding item 33? All right. Seeing none, this is not a public hearing. All right. So I will close public comments and ask council for comments. Councilmember Alvarez.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Dr. Perfecto Munoz, for your comments. And I've been with you in several meetings in terms of trying to retain your guys' home. From what I understand, that you were awarded an RFP. You were successful in that, unless I'm incorrect stating that. So I think that's a positive for you guys to retain that location. And I do understand that there's a contract right now where it's being negotiated. It's a win-win for the city and for your agency. And I'm happy to be supportive in that in any way I can to ensure that you guys have a beneficial welcome and also a re-welcoming, right, to that building and to calibrate anything that could be calibrated. In addition to that, I want to highlight something you said earlier, that this is a gem of a building facility, but it is not the only thing in the past 6 years that has been invested into District 2. Since I've been on council, we've seen investments in underground water utility infrastructure. So District 2, or the west side in particular, parts of it has better water quality and better water pressure for a lot of residents in that area. And we have the Paradise corridor in front of Modesto High that's been redone and is safer, bikeable, walkable, etc. So I want to highlight that. But again, I'm happy to be at this point in time a partner in community with you and your team, and I'm hoping that we can continue that collaboration to serve the residents of Modesto, or West Modesto in particular, my home district, my home community. So I think this is very exciting. I'm looking forward to some mariachis out there, the ribbon cutting when this is done. And then I know Jeremiah has a longtime resident there as well, my dad as well. They know each other. So my family's looking forward to this. So I'm going in circles now, but I appreciate you being here.
All right, Councilmember Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. I first and foremost am thankful that the opportunity has come to fruition. It's coming, and that my colleague, Councilmember Eric Alvarez, will be able to see this come to pass as well. And I'm excited for him and District 2 as well as the City of Modesto.
Right, any other comments regarding this item? I'll just make a brief comment. I spend a lot of time at the King Kennedy Center, and it's an active, vibrant community center. The 8 years I was on the school board, I was there very often, and that continues on my service on the city council as well. And that whether it's food being brought to residents from the Food Initiative of Greater Stanislaus, or our clergy council meetings, or for many other community activities and meetings that we've been invited to. It's a vibrant place with a lot going on. So I'm just really excited to see this happen. And I do appreciate you being here this evening too and staying so late, especially. So I have three resolutions we can vote at once. A resolution approving the approval of the, did someone else have a comment? No, okay. Resolution approving the approval of the plans and specifications for the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Park renovation project, accepting the bid and awarding a construction contract to Harris Builders Incorporated of Hillmar, California, in the amount of $10,996,103, authorizing $879,689 in contingency, if needed, for a total payment amount not to exceed $11,875,792, and authorizing the city manager or his designee to execute the agreement. A resolution approving the agreement with TRC Engineering Incorporated of Lathrop, California, for construction management and inspection services for the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Park renovation project in the amount of $947,563 plus $94,756 in additional services if needed, for a total amount not to exceed $1,042,319, and authorizing the city manager or his designee to execute the agreement. A resolution approving a first amendment to the agreement with Callender Associates Landscape Architecture Incorporated of Gold River, California, for additional design support during the construction phase of the project for the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Park renovation project, increasing the agreement amount by $20,000 to a new total amount not to exceed $704,927, plus $68,492 in additional services if needed, for a total amount not to exceed $773,419, and authorizing the city manager or his designee to execute the amendment. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Alvarez, second by Councilmember Williams. And will the clerk please call the roll for this item?
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Bavaro?
Aye.
Councilmember Williams?
Aye.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Scutia-Brayton? Aye. Councilmember Alvarez?
Aye.
Mayor Zwollen?
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Are there any matters too late for the agenda? Seeing none, I'm calling this meeting of the City Council to be adjourned.